The NFL is finally back.
And so are the Cappers contest and the Survivor pools.
Congratulations to our Season 3 champion, Nunya, who joins the Pub Sports Radio Wall of Fame alongside our Season 2 co-champions, Guillermo Zertucci and Sharpie, and our inaugural champion, Heater Loshek.
And we're back for year 4.
The Cappers contest lines come out every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. You pick your favorite 5 bets against the spread. Picks must be in by Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. You get 1 point for a win, half a point for a push. The victor at the end of the season is the one with the most total points.
$100 to enter each contest, of which 4% go to covering credit card fees, and the top 10% get paid.
But there's more. The great people at Harbor Acres Cottages in beautiful Nova Scotia, Canada, have offered up $1,000 for the capper who accumulates the most perfect weeks throughout the duration of the regular season. $1,000 from Harbor Acres Cottages. May the greatest football capper reap all the rewards.
Sign up right now at pubsportsradio.com.
Wide open Torrence! Oh, baby! Touchdown! How do you leave the best receiver in the NAIA that wide open?
You show, and that's what we do! Cat!
You're proud of me? And it's caught! Oh my goodness! Troy Torrence comes down with it!
Welcome all to Week 1, Season 3 of Bankroll Blitz. Good God, Troy, are the stakes high, my man? It is great to see you. How are you?
Oh, I'm just so damn excited to be sitting here today talking football. We are officially back. It's funny, coming into this show, just thinking about how much work went into what we're about to present today. It's just, caps off to all the people actually fully handicapping, doing the hours of grinding, trying to balance life while being obsessed with trying to beat the books. Real talk. It takes an obsession to be even competitive with the books in Vegas. So ready to get to work.
I'm excited. Thank you all who are joining us here on Pub Sports Radio. AM in the house. Just took a nap after work. My daughter woke me up. She must have gotten the notification. Bankroll Blitz Week 1 is tonight. Thank you for being here, AM. The great Sammy Calmer, Dougie Wise, Ziggy Balls. Great to see Ziggy Balls in the house. Gerald Jones, Harold Williams, Coin, Jim Dewigger, Chill, Will. What a great group. Thank you guys for joining us. There's little Domo in the house ready to get to work. It is great to see all of you guys. I feel very prepared, and I've attacked. I have attacked heavily.
I was shocked. I was shocked to see how much action you had.
Yes, and there's more. There's more that I want, that I just want a certain number and expect the line to move that way. So
I plan on making eight or so additions right here between futures and, Week 1 included.
Well, I have made 13 future bets and 11 bets for Week 1. And there's a few more I want to make Week 1, but let's do a quick review of our futures. Now, before we talk about each game, we're going to talk about our futures, but right off the hop, we're going to do a quick review of our futures. Now, I have your list of futures, but why don't you tell our friends and colleagues watching the show what futures you've moved on?
This is the most futures I've had heading into a season. It makes me a little bit uncomfortable. The money is locked up. It's okay. My bankroll's deep enough to handle it. Commanders team total under 9.5 was the first play I made in the NFL season. Falcons team total over 7.5. I know, Jimmy, you're probably going to disagree with that one, and I get it. I totally get it, especially after hitting the first, the Bucs-Falcons matchup. Jaguars team total under 7.5, minus 108. I actually really love that number, getting a minus 108 on that. And the Ravens Super Bowl plus 700. That was pretty much going to come. I had that one earmarked for a while now. And after capping the Bills Ravens, I had to move on it right away.
I cannot wait to talk about that game.
It's so far away, though. It's so far away.
Oh, it's
It's
coming
like
fast.
2 hours down the road.
It's coming fast. My future is in the NFC first. Rams Super Bowl at 20-1. Rams NFC West at 2-1. Buccaneers NFC South. That's moved 15 cents in the last 48 hours. So I had to pay minus 115 for it.
Wow.
Saints with the worst record. That's moved 50 cents. That was plus 450. Now it's plus 400.
Did you move on that after capping the week 1 game?
Yes. I moved on all of these. I didn't bet a future until I capped all of the games completely and fully. Saints under 4.5 wins. That moved 25 cents to plus 100. It was plus 125 48 hours ago. Rams over 9.5 wins. That's gone 5 cents against me in 48 hours. So I got minus 140. Commanders under 9.5 wins. That was plus 100 48 hours ago. Now it's minus 115. It's a pretty big move to an under for the Commanders. Packers under 10.5 wins. I got 5 cents better than I had before. In the AFC, Ravens Super Bowl at plus 650. Ravens over 11.5 wins at minus 130. The Colts line went against me, so I got the 7. Over 7 wins at minus 122. That moved 20 cents against me in the last 48 hours, but I still fight away. Jaguars under 7.5 wins, plus 100. Broncos over 9.5 wins was.
What was that last one you had?
Jaguars under 7.5 wins at plus 100. And then Broncos over 9.5 wins, minus 130. I know it's very public. I couldn't help myself. I maybe going to a trap, walking into a public trap with that Broncos, but I did a move on it. We have coins action.
Showing respect for those boys. They're showing respect. You can already tell.
I think so. We have coins action, and he was with us for our big future show. Coin Washington under 9.5 wins at plus 105. Seattle under 7.5 wins at plus 120, and the Bengals to miss the playoffs at plus 115. We got Vincent Hawkins, Talk Sports with JT, ready to get to work. Slatsy, the new worker in the house. Jim W. Putt, ready to get to work. Harold Williams, what a great group. Thank you guys for joining us. And a big thank you to our producer, Jose Bouquet. The hours that he has to put in are incredible and enormous. So thank you for all your work, Jose, our producer this year and every year of Bankroll Blitz. And we're very thankful to have you, my friend. Are you ready, Troy, to cap the first regular season game of the season here on Bankroll Blitz?
Let's get to it, man.
Thursday night, September 4th, 8:20 p.m. Eastern, we have the Cowboys 7-10, 5-3 on the road at the Philadelphia Eagles 14-3, 8-1 at home. We're at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 73 Fahrenheit, light rain, 10 miles per hour. There's a few spots on this weekend's card. Now, this is Thursday, but there's a few spots on this weekend's card that have light rain that may not rain come day, game day. But right now, we're dealing with light rain here. We have Schottenheimer here. He was, the offensive coordinator last year. It's hard to forget what happened here last year in week 17. It was just a horrific game. Cooper Rush-led Cowboys team went into Philadelphia, got annihilated 41-7 against Pickett and McKee. It was pretty ugly stuff. Let's get into the line history and the cash flow and then hammer away. We have this line, as we expected, moving towards the Eagles. And I saw our first 9 pop up on the board. And I thought we'd get 8.5s. And I am going to go up against some of these moves in week 1. And this is a move I'm going to go up against. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see how big of a number I can get on the Dallas Cowboys. They are a 9 now at offshores. This opened up on May 12th as a 7, and we have a 9 now, which is absolutely incredible. From a total standpoint here, I'm also interested in the under. I haven't got there yet. I haven't bet it yet. This opened up at 46.5, and it's been climbing. It's been climbing since the start of September. You could have got the over. I guess it was near the end of August, really, when it moved up. I guess 46.5 on like the 28th. It started moving around the 29th, And now we're at 47.5 juice to the over. I think it will continue to climb. Ziggy Ball says this is such a Cowboy spot. Harold Williams says 8.5 at FanDuel. AM says if you can still get a 9, you should. It just moved. I can tell you exactly the time that it moved to 9 for you guys because it's the only book that's moved to 9. And it is a book where I assume the others will follow. This moved to 9 at 14 minutes ago. Oh, I guess not. I guess 5:41 p.m. 5:41 p.m. I take that back. So about 2.5 hours ago, it moved to 9 here, and we'll see if the other books follow suit. AM says Circa moved it to 9 at 3:42 p.m. and brought it back to 8 at 7:13 p.m. What are you?
We're looking at 8s here, right? At the book that we use for the NFL.
Yes, I'm talking about where we used to play poker. Moved it to 9. Moved it to 9.
It's another book. Okay.
Yes, another book, but
a good one.
Yes, one that is a respected book. I assume that this gets higher, but AM saying that Circa moved it to 9 and already back to 8 means if there are 9s available, maybe that we should move on them as soon as possible. But I'm not going to do that quite yet. We have 62% of the tickets and 85% of the cash on the Philadelphia Eagles. We have 68% of the tickets and 81% of the cash on the over. And I have a SGP, same game parlay, that is going to be a rec parlay for our live stream on Thursday. I'm only going to put $100 on it, and I'll make over 1,000, if it comes through. But I'm not going to bet it until the bonuses start coming in. I'm not going to bet these SGPs unless I get offered bonuses on them. I'm not just going to be hammering them without these bonuses that the books provide. So I haven't bet this yet. The SGP is Eagles money line and Cowboys plus 10.5. The uncorrelated, non-correlated spots get you more cash. Dak Prescott over a half interception. Both teams to score 15 points and under 54.5. That's at plus 825. But I expect when the bonuses come in, $100 bet will easily clear over $1,000. We have Cowboy backers in the chat. Now, I know when Cappers watch this show, they're going to say, you guys are absolutely nuts. All right, we're going to get a ton of this. But AM here says he's going to be moving on the Cowboys money line, which is absolutely extremely riveting for me to read. So we know what happened in Week 17. We put a line through it. We have Eberflus, defensive coordinator, Clayton Adams, offensive coordinator, and Schottenheimer running the ship for the first time. Dak Prescott did not look good last year before he got hurt. Micah Parsons is gone. Kenny Clark comes in, and 2 first-round picks, next year and the year after that. Everybody's saying, what a horrible trade, everybody. But their run game just improved. Their run defense just improved. Kenny Clark can help them stop the run. And Micah Parsons right now is dealing with a back injury and didn't want to be there unless he was the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. So Kenny Clark comes in. We know what they need. They bring in Dante Fowler. He's got to be a monster. Odigizua has to step up. CeeDee Lamb's not going to be doubled as easy this year with George Pickens. And the Eagles defense led the NFL last season in yards allowed per pass attempt. Well, that makes me want to gravitate towards the under because I know that the Eagles are capable of slowing down both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. But with those 2 very talented wide receivers, we should be able to get enough first downs so the Cowboys can move the ball. You need drives that don't, come to fruition, but you need drives to cash unders. Drives, it can't just be 3 and outs. It can't becomes an issue. The Eagles will take over. Then the game will get sloppy late and it'll fly over. With Schottenheimer as the offensive coordinator last season, Dallas averaged 4 yards per rush. Javonte Williams comes in, and last year he averaged 3.7 yards per rush. This is a problem. The Cowboys are just not going to be able to move the ball. Jake Ferguson, we expect him to have a monster year in the contract year. The offensive line has to be worse without Zach Martin, but Tyler Smith wants to be the anchor. They bring in Cooper Beebe, and they believe in themselves. They don't think this is going to be a horrific offensive line. Now, it could be. It could be. These defending champions come back largely intact and look very strong. we're not going to sit here and poke holes in the Philadelphia Eagles. We just know that in week 1 in division, the dogs do very well, especially the home dogs, and we'll go into some of those edges and angles here. Jalen Hurts was more pedestrian last year, but he was also smarter. Only 5 interceptions, 10 less than in 2023. You have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith healthy right now because as soon as they get hurt, we know there's not enough depth behind them. They have a spectacular offensive line. They've extended Cam Jurgens. Landon Dickerson went to his first Pro Bowl. That's on top of the incredible tandem of Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. Jalen Carter anchors this defensive front that's so dangerous. Zach Bond, number 1 ranked linebacker in the league. Now, we know Milton Williams, who was an absolute monster, 11.5 sacks, he's gone, but they're still very, very tough. The Eagles defense allowed 16.6 points per game at home last season. I want the under, but I haven't gotten there yet. Take it away, Troy. Thursday night football, our first game of the year.
I think I'm going to start off with this. I was going to wait to give you some numbers on the market here with week 1 and totals, but I think I'm going to bring it out now to give you some more confidence in the under. I think I'm getting pretty confident in the under despite this move to the over. So I have 3 years of data in the market efficiency database. So I got 3 years of week 1 football games, and there's some stuff that sticks out to me. First of all, unders went 30 and 18, 63% of the under. That's before any other filters, any other variables are included. And that makes sense, right? You got defense, like it's much more easy to get up to full speed on defense than it is offense, especially with the coordinator situations. There's moving pieces on the offensive line. Offenses start slow. We've seen it in the NCAA football this first week. So, 63% of the under over the past 3 years. But when the line movement is moving towards the under as well, 29 and 11, 73% to the under. And if you take it a step further, I don't have when it's moving to the over, but there is 8 games where the market is moving towards the under. But I will say that divisional games increase the odds that it's going to be going under. But this is the most divisional games we've seen in a week 1 in the past 3 years. I also think that this market, I'm going to get to the overall market for this game in a minute. Let's talk about the matchup. We talked about this in the futures episode, the Schottenheimer ordeal. If McCarthy looked in the mirror, he'd see Schottenheimer and vice versa. Like these two guys, I feel like are cut from the same cloth. They have the same philosophies. So what are we going to see different from this offense? I don't think that's very good for Dak Prescott. And it's really hard to make a case for the Cowboys. I get that. Last year, Saquon averaged 5 yards per carry against Dallas. And I don't think based on the personnel we see, I don't see much changing. I know our boy Micah Parsons is an issue with the run game. He gets too far upfield. He's too fast. He's too quick off the ball. And he has a terrible run grade per PFF, and you could see it in game. Philly went 2-0 in the series, obviously winning by a combined score of 75-13 last year. And what does give me some hope for this Cowboys team is the hangover, the Super Bowl hangover. We see it pretty much every single year. The Super Bowl hangover is real, and I can see it happening to a team like the Eagles. I think the Cowboys are going to need to have an 8-man box to have a chance at defending the run, and that's not Eberflus's his MO. I mean, we watched him in Chicago for years. He's very, very, very stuck in his ways, and his base defense is bend but don't break. But he really doesn't do nothing when a team's having being efficient, running the football. It doesn't seem like he makes too many adjustments. He does way more adjustments in the passing game. So we'll see what Eberflus does. He had a long time to prepare. So I'm sure he has some type of planning for this running attack. I think the Eagles are fully capable if they do start inserting safeties into the box, attacking deep. But like I just said, there's a hangover effect in offenses. The continuity is just not there in the initial stages of the season. And it's just really hard to get behind this defense right now. It's really hard to get behind this defense. So I was really bullish on the Eagles heading into last season. I'm not quite the same this season. I do think that there's going to be a hangover. It's hard to repeat in the NFL, even though we see the same teams contend for Super Bowls a year in and a year out. I'm really starting to like the under, especially after hearing you handicap it. I kind of got my mind went blank and I started looking at stuff to support the under. And there's a lot of things that I do like about it. But for this market, like people I hear a lot of Cowboys love. I thought I was going to see a lot of Eagles love in the chat. That's not the case. But when you have home teams that open 6.5, move down to 7, Now we're looking at 7.5, 8. So let's put a range around it. Hope teams that close between 7 and 8.5 after a market move towards them. 20 and 8 straight up, 71%. So it says that it's not good in a teaser leg or in a money line parlay. 11 and 15 ATS, only 42% ATS. But if the game was in division, like we're looking at today, and none of these games, none of the sample happened in week 1. But if that line movement was in division, 6 and 2 straight up, 5 and 2 ATS over the last 3 seasons, I feel like the number felt a little bit short upon open. I think the opener's kind of telling, in my opinion. Really hard for me to move on the under because this market is moving towards the over, and I have a lot of action on unders this week, but this might have to be an addition for me to join you on the under here, Jim.
Yeah, and I don't feel like there's a need for us to bet this tonight. It's Tuesday night, 8:21 p.m. Eastern. I judging by where this has gone thus far, I think that it's possible it climbs a little bit higher. Those who cap the Canadian Football League with me, I'm 47 and 29 right now in the CFL, and I've been doubling up on every under this year. Every single under, full unit on the first half under and full unit on the full game under, and it's paid enormous dividends. There's been so many games that I've cashed the first half under and lost the full game under because of scoop and scores and pick sixes and mayhem. And so that's something that's in my head right now that I'm going to, and you'll see 2 of the unders that I have. So of my 11 bets in week 1, 4 are doubling up on 2 unders. And I want to do that in NFL this year. So I'm going to have real conviction to move on some of these unders because I'm going to want to double down. Now here, I think if the market's not going in my direction, I don't think it makes sense to double down. And that will be something I'm working with this year. And at this point, the market's not moving in my direction. I want the Cowboys at 9. And I cannot wait for our live stream on Thursday night, our first live stream of the year. Troy will be alongside with a bunch of our Pub Sports Radio cappers. Philly Eagle Flyer is on the Eagles minus 9.5, minus 13.5. First scoring play Eagles plus 400. First scoring play Eagles field goal plus 400. Mitchell pick Eagles win both halves over 3.5 total field goals. Hurts over 40 yards rushing and Barkley over 100 yards rushing for Philly Eagle Flyer. A lot of action here. Jim W. Putt saying bet Eagles sacks over. I mean, this isn't the 2022 Eagles that broke the record. And now they don't have Milton Williams.
That's probably the only schematical thing that worries me about the possibility of an over here, because you're going to have guys who demolish run blocks on the interior, mainly Jalen Carter. He's matched up with a rookie or a second-year center in Cooper Beebe. And that's going to be a massive problem because it's basically going to take away B gap to B gap. And if they can't run the ball, there's going to be a lot of passing, which means either there's going to be fast possessions, 3 and outs, clock's not moving, or it's going to be, making probably big plays potentially, right? They have 2 big play receivers. So who knows what their scheme is. But if I know Clayton Adams, if he's anything like, he's the offensive coordinator, isn't he? Is Clayton Adams the offensive coordinator? Yeah, he's run first mentality. So you'd expect him to come out and try to run the football, but I don't think that that's going to be very effective.
And, Rand says D-line is still nice. There are no holes in the Eagles, and I'm not going to try to find them. There are no, they're not the 2022 Eagles front 7, but they're still good.
Yeah, they're way better in the secondary, so they give up a little bit of pass rush and solidify on the back half.
And God, I cannot wait to watch Cooper DeJean. I can't wait to watch what he does in year 2. We saw what year 1 looked like, and it was spectacular. So I can't wait to watch him in year 2. Shout out to Jared TG, now a Pub Sports Radio member for 9 months. Thank you, my friend. So that is the Thursday Nighter. And join us live for the big live stream here on the channel. We're going to be starting off at 7 or 7:15. We haven't decided exactly when we're going to start, but at least an hour before the football game, and we will be attacking. So, yes, I would like the Cowboys around 9 if I can get one. I know there's one now available. So, it's minus 114 right now. I wouldn't mind that vig to come down a little bit, but I don't hate it. And then I'm interested in the under. for official action, I have no futures on the Cowboys or Eagles, so nothing is being bet yet in this game. And I told you guys the SGP that I would like to bet, but I'm going to wait till I receive a bonus on that before I move on it. Troy, any last words on the Thursday nighter before we move on to Brazil?
I'm going to have action on this game, official action. There's no way I'm going to go without it. If I bet it, I will definitely share it. And yeah, that's all I got. There will be action on this game. I don't know which way I'm going to go yet. I don't want to see this market close 9 if I want the Cowboys, in my opinion. So,
yeah, I mean, week 1 market moves. I mean, you have the database, but we just watched week 1 market moves mean not that much in college football.
Yeah.
So this is the 1 week where I will go up against them. And then, if I rue the consequences, if I have to deal with, some rough numbers and some bankroll smashing, then, I'll regroup and have more respect for it.
Here's the thing. And this is real. Like the 7.5 to 8.5, there's a reason I put it around that range. I didn't see it getting up to 9 and then it just started moving. But at 9, the numbers flip. Like I talked about this not being a good teaser leg for the Eagles. And then when it hits 9.5, not only is it a good teaser leg, it's a good straight bet historically. If it moves from under 7 to 9.5, it's a great spot to take a teaser, take a money line parlay, and ATS. So that's why yeah.
We are 48 hours away from kickoff of our Thursday nighter. Let's move on to the São Paulo game, 8 p.m. Eastern, Friday, September 5th. Kansas City Chiefs 15-2 versus the LA Chargers 11-6. Corinthians Arena in Sao Paulo, Brazil. 60 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 8-mile-per-hour winds. I have moved on the Chargers plus 3.5 at minus 122. Historically, this is the only week where coming in with a bunch of action has worked out great for me. I feel like I need to work with you guys and not come in with, double-digit bets. But we've been looking at these games for months and months and months. I knew what I wanted. When it got into my price range, I attacked it. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have a move. Let's see, please tell me. Okay, a slight move back to the Chargers. I'd like to see that. This plus 3 for the Chargers was plus 105 at 2 this morning. So we are now 8:30 at night, and the plus 3 is plus 101. I would like this. I'd like to see the plus 3 at minus 105 or pick 'em. That would make me feel very good. But that's the situation right now. So this line opened up at 2.5. The Chiefs are minus 2.5 at minus 113. That was on that was on June 4th. And then on August 5th was when it moved to 3. This 3 got up to minus 116 on the 8th of August. And, the minus 116 was sort of where it was at 2 this morning. But there's been times where the juices come back on the Chargers at this number at the 3. From a total standpoint here, I know the field is going to be crucial, and we'll have an idea. We're going to hear from the players this week, but the field was so horrific last year, and it's supposed to be. NFL claims it's much better this year. We'll have to see it to believe it. This total opened up at 44.5 juice to the over, and now we have a 45.5 juice to the over. So we're up a point. When we get to the cash flow here for this one, we have 54% of tickets, 55% of the cash on the Kansas City Chiefs. We have 52% of tickets and 56% of cash on the under. So for these Chiefs, we know that when Mahomes is listed between minus 3 and a pick'em as a favorite, he's 15-8 against the spread. He handles this number very well. But I don't know anybody who thinks this Chiefs team is better than they were last year or 2 years ago. There's a lot of people saying that they're still really good. You keep hearing that. Everyone's saying they're still really good. But no, I don't hear anyone saying they're so much better than they were last year, and this is why. I don't hear that from anybody. Mahomes is running for his life last year. There's no way that this offensive line is better without Thuney. We know that Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith are excellent, but you take Thuney out, they can't be better. Mahomes hasn't thrown for more than 30 touchdown passes since 2022. Rashee Rice is gone for the first 6 games. How's Hollywood Brown going to come back from injury? Is Juju Smith still got it? We know Xavier Worthy looked very good at times last year. Kelsey entering his last year. Are Pacheco and Kareem Hunt a very dangerous duo? I mean, Elijah Mitchell now the third string. He'll come in. The Chiefs were very, very good defensively last year, and they will be again. We know that. Spagnuolo calling the plays, McDuffie, Chris Jones, Nick Bolton. I mean, they're a very good football team. But the Chargers can play with this team. And if you're going to give me over a field goal for cheap, I'm going to bet it. And I did. I'm on the Chargers plus 3.5 minus 122. Troy, take it away.
Oh, this is a really tough game because we're starting to get up to a price where I'm going to be interested in the Chargers. Plus 3, plus 103 right now. Just, basically, here's what I've seen historically. Between minus 2.5 and minus 3, when you have an open in division, 2.5, 3, open and close, I mean, it's 50-50 ATS. You're flipping a coin on both the money line and ATS. Your best bet would have been taking the dog on the money line. When you start getting to 3.5, you start to find value because this is where the NFL is so sharp in this price range. So many of these games, like the results of these games are so tightly distributed between 2.75 and 3.25. It's insane. So this is a very sharp number. I do see value in teasers immediately. Just looking at the market history on the Chargers, even at 3.5. I know you want to tease through the number. I don't necessarily agree with that in all cases. Just based on the past 3 years alone, especially when the line's moving away from them. But we've seen very similar matchups last season. So I feel like the last 2 games that these two teams played against each other are valid points to really look into. Last year, the Chiefs won 17-10 and 19-7. And even the 17-10 was a very closely contested game. And the noise adjusted scores from those games per PFF, the series should have been split and both games should have been going under the total. But Herbert is just 2-7 straight up against the Chiefs in his career. And we all know my thesis. I mean, people who've been here before, hopefully there's people that are new in the chat. My thesis is the mob shit always exists when you have Patrick Mahomes on the field. I think that Herbert and this roster, I guess I'll say it this way. These two teams, there's not too much that separates them on paper until we look at the quarterback situation, the coaching staffs, the offense, the defense. There's some value on both sides there. There's some elements of the Chargers I like their offensive line, and I dislike the Chiefs' offensive line. But the quarterback situation is, with Herbert is we've seen some things last year, in my opinion, that told me he was not the guy we thought he would be, that he would develop into. In our first season of Bankroll Blitz, I was moving on the Chargers futures. And that ended in disaster because of Brandon Staley. I expect to see a slow pace from the Chargers. I expect to see a lot of 12 personnel. And if you look historically, where do the Chiefs struggle? It's against 12 personnel, and this is a perfect offense and a perfect coordinator to go in and roll out a quality 12 personnel scheme that it takes advantage of the entire field. And I think that says a lot about where the receivers are, the situation is in LAC. Well, they did get their boy Keenan Allen back, so we'll see what the 12 personnel looks like. I expect it to be a lot of that young, what's his name? Stud wide receiver, great route runner.
Ladd McConkey.
I wanted to say white boy, but, I don't want to be seen as racist.
We need Quentin Johnston to take that next step. This guy is not being the receiver we thought he was going to be. 21st overall pick in 2023. And then, you know what, Quinn Johnson, if you don't step up, Trey Harris is going to take your job. I love that they bring in the Ole Miss star. I mean, he led FBS in receiving yards per game. For me here, we're going to see right away, Troy, if Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris, who says he's good from the fireworks accident, he says he's good. He says he's good to go. But this running game was terrible last year. And so when we talked about Justin Herbert not being as good as we thought he was going to be, it's because you couldn't really hurt them on the ground.
Solid point. Very solid point.
If Omarion Hampton shows that he is very dangerous, all of a sudden you have to add defenders to the box, and Herbert can start showing what we thought he was going to be at one point. Now, Herbert, in his last 9 starts as an underdog, 2-6-1 against the spread. So there's things that don't work in this. But here, last year, the Chargers were 29th in PFF rushing grade, 27th in explosive run, 27th in yards after contact. That's absolute trash. Now, we know Rashawn Slater's not there on the offensive line, and run blocking was a major liability last year.
And they get better incrementally with Mekhi Becton on the right side of that offensive line, because that was a hole in the running game last year.
And Chargers fans were praying that it'd be, Slater, Alt, and Mekhi Becton, and losing Slater was just like the throat punch. I mean, if Rashawn Slater doesn't get hurt, I have futures on the Chargers.
Yeah, they have the coaching staff where you'd want to put futures down. I agree. And then they got a young offensive line like Zion Johnson. His play should elevate. I still believe in him. He was a first-round draft pick. Pipkins is not him on the right tackle, unfortunately, but that's where you're talking about. That's the Slater injury coming back to really damage this team. And honestly, that's not the worst team to lose your right tackle against. You want interior offensive linemen for Chris Jones if you want to be able to run the ball on this team. And they really haven't been able to run the ball, man. So, it's like, do I want to see it before I believe it? This is another game. I'm very close. I'm leaning towards the Chargers. I will see what kind of numbers pop later in the week, but I'm only looking towards the Chargers. I would have already moved on this under if this game wasn't in Brazil. I trust both offensive coordinators to have an appropriate scheme. The two offenses lacked explosion over the past, explosive plays over the past few seasons now. And this divisional market screams under. But, my database based on home road dichotomy, this is a neutral site. So, I'm leaning towards the Chargers in this situation.
And I have moved on them.
All right, let's go, Jim.
Plus 3.5.
I'm ready to move with you. If I'm talking a 50-50 situation, market history, I'm not a believer in this Kansas City team.
Well, I also think that Derwin James Jr. is my favorite player in the entire league. I think that's what's happened now. I think he's now become my favorite player in the entire league. So I might be, looking through rose-colored glasses. Huge shout out to our friend, the Nuke Worker. What a guy, gifting 5 Pub Sports Radio memberships. Thank you, Nuke, my man. Art, Twizzlist, Brad Oliver, Hefe, Eric Rosas, getting them. Thank you guys. And thank you, Nuke. You're a great friend of the channel. The Chargers plus 3.5 at minus 122. Are you looking at the 3 or the 3.5, Troy?
I'm looking at the 3. I'm going to take a 3, and I could get, I don't know what you could get me, Jim, but because we're betting on the show. No, you give them what I'm getting right now, plus 100 at Bovada.
Plus 100 for our guy, Troy Torrence. So I took the hook. Troy does not. Troy has the Chargers plus 3 at plus 100. We roll on. That's Thursday and Friday night action. I cannot wait, man. I cannot wait. And now we move to Sunday. Sunday morning, NFL Pub Hub will be in effect. I hope that you guys can join us. Jose, my man, we are starting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 10-7, 5-3 on the road at the Atlanta Falcons, 8-9, 4-5 at home last year. And I did move on the Buccaneers NFC South. Minus 115. It was plus 100 48 hours ago. We broke down the Falcons. You still moved on the over 7.5, and I got more bullish on the Buccaneers. But I don't know if I'm going to bet them here. It would feel like then, because, for me, this future bet and all of these are about 1 2/3 of a unit. If I go higher than that, I have to call in. So I usually keep that as my limit. I'm comfortable with that at about, it's a $500 bet. With these division spots where, there's some VIG involved, you probably want to go a little more. It's just basically a little more than one game that I bet on it. NFC South at minus 115. Let's talk about the line history. Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia, where the Falcons were just 4-5 last year. We have a total of 47.5, and it's minus 117 to the under. This opened up at 49.5. It got down to 46.5 back on August 29th. So it's now moved to 47.5, but it's heavily juiced to the under where I'm looking right now. The spread, I want to know, I want to figure out what exactly do the Falcons have? And that's why I'm just hesitant to back Tampa, on the road as a favorite, even though I need them to win for the division bet. I mean, the games against the Falcons are going to be hugely important. Except the Falcons won both games last year, but we'll get into that. Bucks opened up -1.5, heavily juiced. When this came out, so this came out on June 4th at 3:47 p.m. Within a minute, there was 8 cents more of juice. Within a minute that it was out, it became -125. Then it came back to -118. Then there was a move in July towards the Falcons. That stopped here about 2 weeks ago, and this became a 2. So it's moved a half point. I think we can consider it a quarter of a point. When we get to the cash flow here for this one, we have 53% of the tickets on Atlanta and 80% of the cash. If it stays that way, I will bet the Buccaneers.
What about the money line splits?
I only have the spread splits here. I can
because I got it. Well, I mean, yeah, we're probably referencing different numbers. 34% of bets, 80% of cash on the Falcons money line.
Because the site you're using, I stopped using.
And I understand that. I would rather understand where the public sentiment is.
I agree. And I don't think it's not useful. I stopped trusting it and I got angry with them. And
well, because the total cash flow is I almost gave up on it too, but I still have 3 years of history with these splits, and the NFL splits are way better than the other splits.
And we're talking about the Action Network board that I've stopped using. That's what we're talking about. So you guys know, it's something that's been a part of our show for the last 2 years, and it's not going to be from my side of things this year, although I still have it here. So let's talk about this. So here we have the divisional home underdog, and there's different ways and different angles of this. And there's a few that I will discuss here, but the simple division home underdog in the first 3 games of the year, weeks 1 through 3, since 2005, are hitting at 63.5%. They're 66, 38, and 3. Everybody that's on a divisional home underdog, we'll start with that. Before they get into X's and O's, they'll say, oh, I've got this trend that backs up. And when you look for trends, you can find a trend that fits your bet. This one obviously fits the Falcons, who beat Tampa Bay in both games last year, and both games sailed over. They won 36-30 in overtime at home on October 3rd before winning at Tampa on October 27th, 31-26. This Buccaneers offense was top 5 in rushing and passing last year. Now, look, is it going to continue with Grizzard? Liam Cohen, is he a genius? That's still, the jury's still out. I don't care that Liam got the job in Jacksonville. I still think the jury's out on that. This was a team that was coming together. The roster came together. And Mayweather has been spectacular. 79 passing touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. He's running with the ball. Bucky Irving is an absolute monster. 1,122 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns, caught 47 passes for 392 yards. You have Mike Evans still delivering. Godwin saying he's healthy. Now, Jalen McMillan's hurt with the neck injury. That hurts. But Ibuka comes in from Ohio State. You got another very talented wide receiver. Now, what's going to happen when Bowles takes over the defensive coordinator duties? This defense was horrible last year. It was their weak point. The pass rush was non-existent. I don't think Hassan Reddick necessarily changes that. Vita Vea was hurt, and when he wasn't hurt, the defense still wasn't very good. Antoine Winfield did not look very good. So there's problems. And we don't know, even though Tristan Wirfs, the standout offensive lineman, and Chris Godwin, a great receiver, even though they passed physicals, there's still questions whether they're going to play this week. Here. We have Coin saying week 1 division dogs are 23-7 against the spread since 2010, 8-14 against the spread since 2012. Now that's just division dogs, not division home dogs, but crucial information here from our friend Coin. For the Falcons, how good is Penix going to be in front of an offensive line that does not look good? Now, you could say Jake Matthews, Matthew Bergeron, Chris Lindstrom is all they need. You can say that. but this team was different when they lost Drew Dahlman last year. And now Caleb McGarry is gone for the season. And I challenge you to protect Penix. Now, maybe this is the right team to go up against. A non-existent pass rush last year that only Hassan Reddick has come in to try and change things. Maybe this is the right team to have those issues with. And if that was your angle, I mean, I don't know. I get it. I don't know how really to argue that. Defensively, they bring in Leonard Floyd. They have Jalen Walker out of Georgia and James Pierce out of Tennessee. I mean, first-round picks that are going to help this defense. But Braylon Trice, who missed all of his rookie season after tearing his ACL, I thought he was good. He got hurt again. He's gone. He re-injured his knee. He's back placed on IR. We may not see this kid, 2024 third-round pick, Braylon Trice. So he's hurt. Look, I'm still trying to figure out what to do. Take it away, Troy.
So we taught you did a great job with this game. Great job with this game. We talked about a lot of the the roster and the personnel situation on Sunday. Yeah, that's devastating injury. I mean, this was easily a top 10, probably a top 5 offensive line with McGarry at right tackle. I know what's with these right tackles getting injured. And they still even struggled to pass block last season when they had to drop back and, throw it on second, third long. So that remains to be seen. You made a really good point. The point I was going to make about this is a perfect unit to go up against in terms of a pass rush. And, the offense for the Falcons just looks so exciting to me. A great offensive line, 2 great running backs, like a perfect tandem at running back. I think you got one of the most elite receivers in the league at London. Now he's got to be utilized to his full potential. A sleeper in Pitts, who I think is going to have a breakout season. Mooney, who's a quality third receiving option. And then you got a guy in Penix, who I thought was the best quarterback coming out of the draft last season. He has an innate ability to make a read prior to the snap and deliver the football on time. And he's efficient. I think he will be efficient. The more snaps he takes, the more efficient he becomes. Basically flip sides of the defense with this Falcons team, it's hard to trust. And really it's because in the trenches, I think they're going to get slaughtered. They were the worst pass rush in the league last year. They did address it by drafting 2 players, Pierce and Jalen Walker. One thing's for certain, after last year's performance, they can only get better. This is one of my favorite linebacker groups in the game. Troy Anderson, there's a direct correlation with their performance and Troy Anderson's injury. And the secondary is, they have a lot of potential, but I feel like it's going to take a different scheme to really take advantage of it. And I don't know if Jeff Ulbrich is that guy. So concerned about the defense, very bullish on the offense. And it's pretty much the same story with the Bucs, which is going to make my bet very interesting to you guys. I think the Bucs offense is primed to have a really big season, and the defense is going to have a season like they did. They could reach the levels they reached last season, but I don't think they are going to be that good. I think the secondary is definitely their claim to fame here, and they actually showed their ability to stop the run. So I don't know why I was so bearish on them heading into the season after capping it with you on Sunday and talking it out right now. There's definitely some. I can almost find something I like for every team except for the Saints. But for me, I thought I would be betting the Falcons. I really did. But with the wind got taken out of my sails with this injury at right tackle. But I do think that this is a pass rush that they could still take advantage of. The side is really tricky, and the sharp action being on the Falcons historically has been great, puts them in division. Winning 80% of the time now. It's a small sample in division, priced between 1.5 and 2.5. So we'll see where this number ends up. That's why I'm not that favorable on the side, but I think the under is very interesting to me. We have overwhelming database support, right? We have the market moving towards the under in week 1. I've talked about 75% plus trends in the past. We have the history of these 2 teams. Everybody's seen these 2 teams fly over the total last year, 60 plus points in both of those games. We have a Bucs defense that matches up well in the trenches and in the secondary, as long as Vea could be the plug he's been for years in the middle. And the Bucs are adjusting offensively to a new offensive coordinator. I think that's going to take some time to really be able to mesh. Now, some guys are special, and maybe Liam Cohen is that guy, but I'm willing to put my money against it. And I just can't get over. I go back and look what happened last year. I see this market flying towards the under. I look at the history of what happens in a market like this, in division, in this price range on the side and total, I mean, we were talking massive, massive under trends. So we know about the totals in week 1, but even if you look at +2.5, +2, like between 1 and 3, home dog, line moving towards the under, we're talking ridiculous trends, pretty big sample for a 3-year season. And so I've moved on this under, or I haven't moved yet on this under. I was waiting for a 48. This is a game I know I'm going to be betting the under. I was hoping for a 48 or a 47 to pop, and it looks like it's going to head down more to 47. So I might as well just take a 47.5 now.
How does this not get hammered to the over by the public on Sunday?
That's what I thought.
I mean, even so here we see it's clear sharp action on the under. It's clear as day. 71% of tickets on the over and 90% of cash on the under. It's so clear, and it's dropping. But you close your eyes and you think of the Buccaneers. I mean, good God. And these two teams, the way they played last year, I like it. Big shout out to Chill Will gifting 5 Pub Sports Radio memberships. It means a ton to us.
And here's a point about the 48 and why it's important. Over the last 3 years, 3.36% of games landed exactly on the number 48. That's one of the highest. 37 is 4.61, but there's not too many that compete with this. 51, 37, and 43 are the only numbers that beat that in terms of percentage of total. So 48 is an important number, and I mean, should I be patient? But I'm watching this just continue to drop.
Yeah, one thing is that it did get down to 46.5 on August 29th, and at that point that was the lowest point. It was -108 to the under.
Yep.
So then it started climbing out of that, got into the 47.5. And that's where it's, kind of dangling.
But it's juicing back now. Yeah, we went back to 47.5, went from 107 to 113 to 115. Now it's -117.
This is the kind of bet that would make you sick to bet, like making me sick knowing what the Bucs did last year. But
which makes me so excited to bet it. Makes me so excited to bet it.
I get it. There's no doubt in my mind it's very sharp. In saying that, I still don't think I can. At this, I'm not betting it tonight. I'll tell you that. I'll have to sit with it and kind of watch where this line goes.
I mean, what are the chances these two offenses come back out with a second-year quarterback, a first-year offensive coordinator for the Bucs, and just come out all firing on all cylinders? Last year, do I have a note on what happened with these games last year? Both games last year went flying towards the over, right? Mm-hmm. The second matchup closing at 48. It moved up from 45.5 to 48 last year. And both totals moved towards the over, but that second matchup from 45.5 to 48 goes flying over the total. Now we open 49 and it just goes plummeting. Yeah, I think it's a great bet on the under. So for a live, I'm going to take it right now. I'm just going to take it, Jim. I might add it to 48. We'll just play it that way. I just want to get my action out today.
So at this point with Tristan Wirfs and for Godwin, they're not on the PUP list, but Wirfs is telling people I'm going to be good to go week 3 or 4. So even though Tristan Wirfs and Godwin have been, activated, Tristan Wirfs is not going to play in week 1. Unless something changes dramatically at this point, which I doubt.
Yeah, I'm under the impression he's not playing. Yeah,
because he has been activated off the PUP list. A new worker on the Bucs. AM says I kind of like the under theory. Both teams should be fairly one-dimensional, and in division, no Chris Godwin for Bucs will hurt the passing. I don't think we should think like that. Honestly, I mean, is it possible that Jalen McMillan, that injury hurts even more? I mean, let's get Ibuka out there and see what he can do. But I mean, it doesn't help, obviously, not having Godwin there. But that was a pretty nasty ankle injury. We're not entirely sure what he's going to be when he gets back. So are you moving officially here on the under?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't want to take the juice. I'm not eating the juice. I'm going to take a 47 at minus 104.
Under 47 at minus 104. Wow. Okay, I'm extremely interested in that. I do not think I'm going to double down. It's only a double down in my head because I have the Buccaneers to win the NFC South. So
look at that. So as I'm typing in this bet,
yeah,
I have history, right? So if I'm typing in the same bet, it'll come up like what the history of that is. And I bet the under 48 that went flying over last year. So here I am again, back to the well.
Well, let's talk about another under that we were on right now. Let's move on to 1 p.m. Eastern. Cincinnati Bengals 9-8, 6-3 on the road at the Cleveland Browns 3-14, 2-6 at home. I moved on the under 47.5 at minus 106 in this one, and I want the Browns plus 5.5. But
you can get sixes still, right?
Well, but how is this not a 6 or 6.5? Come, I couldn't get a 6 today. Let me see if that's changed now.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, it was all 5.5s. But how is this not?
Wow.
How is this not a 6 or 6.5 come Sunday? And the sharp books here. I'm looking at a very sharp book that I respect very much out of Costa Rica that's already moved it to 5. So my thought process is with this is that if it doesn't move to 6, I should just have more confidence. So I feel like this is a can't lose pre-game bet. Now, obviously, the bet can lose in the game, but I don't feel like I can, if it
lose by waiting. Yeah.
If it closes at 5, then bet it with confidence. Now we have AM in the chat, very confident in the Bengals, and Ziggy Ball's got the Browns at plus 8.5. Unbelievable, Ziggy! Spectacular work. We have our friend AM very bullish on the Bengals this year, and I have been in that position often. I'm not in that position this year. I'm not. But I've moved on the under 47.5, 60 Fahrenheit, chance of showers, 14 mile per hour winds at Huntington Bank Field in Cleveland, Ohio. Let's take a look here at the line history. We talked about the spread already, but I'll give you a little bit of a deeper look into it. This opened up at 5.5 back on June 4th. It opened up 5.5, slightly juiced towards the Browns. This got to a 6. It got to a 6 on August 27th, and it lasted there for 2 days. And then it got back to a 5.5, which is where it is now. I told you that there's a sharp book that I do respect that's moved it to 5, but this is a 5.5. Let's get to the total here for this one. This total is 47.5 for the pick'em. It's a pick'em everywhere. This one opened up at 46 and it dropped to 45 pretty quickly. You're going to see here some totals that I'm on that the market's gone against me, but the initial sharp move, or I shouldn't say the initial sharp move, but the initial move was towards the under, and then it started climbing. So you're going to hear me on these spots that I probably wouldn't be on any week other than week 1. But I'm starting to have more confidence if I can explain why a total's doing or a side's doing what it is to still go up against the market. I'm getting a little bit more confident in that role. But here, this opened up at 46. Within 2 weeks, this was a 45, and it stayed a 45 until August 19th. It got to 46. August 27th, it got to 47, and now it's at 47.5, and I bet the under. And that's something I don't think I did one time all year last year. Let's get to the cash flow here for Bengals, Browns. We have 61% of the tickets and 76% of the cash on Cincinnati. That makes it even more appealing to me to grab the Browns as this line's moving towards them with the public clearly on the Bengals. MMA Mad Hatter in the house, just upgraded to gold and about to enter the Cappers contest. Means a ton to us. MMA Mad Hatter, thank you, my man. Means a ton. Coin saying Circa has Cincinnati -5 at -110 right now. That is all very appealing. And then we go back to the divisional dogs and the divisional home dogs. So they both work here. 60 Fahrenheit, chance of showers, 14 mile per hour winds. And look, Al Golden has his work cut out for him. And if he can put this together after, showing out Notre Dame, I'll be very impressed if he can fix this defense. Anarumo is one of the most well-respected defensive coordinators in the league. Now, we saw Fangio not able to fix certain defenses and go, like Miami or others and move over to Philadelphia and run the best defense in the league. So Golden can turn this around, sure. The Bengals always start slow. We know that they're talking about it, that they're playing their starters in the preseason, that they know how important it is to not start slow. They paid Hendrickson. They paid Chase and T. Higgins. They paid Gesicki. Chase Brown is a monster. The public is, right now we're sitting at 76% of the cash is on the Bengals. What's it going to be by Sunday? It's got to be 85 to 88. Everybody's going to be on the Bengals. The offensive line is being horrific. They finished in the bottom 5 in PFF grade in Burrow's 5 years. They didn't do anything to fix it, and I don't trust them. Jermaine Pratt was loved by this team. He demanded a trade. We know why. They're cheap and they're dicks. And I talked about what they did to Boomer Esiason for the Ring of Honor ceremony this year. He read out the email that they sent him on the radio like it's – now, look, do you want to back the Browns? I like that there's some consistency with Stefanski in his 6th season, Tommy Rees 2nd, Jim Schwartz 3rd. We talked about the divisional dogs in the chat. The divisional home dogs works here. 66, 38, and 3 against the spread, 63.5% since 2005. The Browns averaged 15.2 points per game last year. This 47.5 total is the highest in a Browns game since week 4 of the 2022 season. And that's because of the Cincinnati Bengals. And that's a mistake. I believe it's a mistake. Could this blow up in my face? Yes. Do you notice that this is not one where I'm on the first half under 2? I want to be, but I might be only able to do that after I talk it out with you guys. I wasn't able to put 2 units down on it at this point. Cleveland's team total, 21.5. They've hit this team total 5 of their last 20 games. They have Joe Flacco coming in. Yes, you could say he's a better quarterback than who they've had over the last few years. This offensive line, was 27th in pass blocking grade last year. Flacco was used to this Colts offensive line that was 10th.
Musical chairs on that offensive line, man.
Absolutely. And Conklin is healthy. Bitonio, Wyatt, Teller, Pochich, they're all healthy. I need Quinshon Judkins to be the number 1, the 2nd-round pick out of Ohio State, because Jerome Ford's, I don't think he's just not good enough. Maybe Dylan Sampson. Can Dylan Sampson step up? Garrett got the bag. Martin Emerson Jr. tore his ACL. That hurts. I like Schlesinger, the 2nd-round pick. They also signed Jerome Baker, but Owusu Koromoa was a great linebacker who probably is never going to play again. They have leadership in their defense. Jared TG says he loves that Cleveland team total under. I get it. I'm going to be on the under in this one. I'm going to be on the full game under. I'm going to be trusting the Browns. Now, do I agree with the Browns team total under? Do I want to get a second unit on this under or a first half under? Possibly, but I'm nervous about this bet because I'm going up against the market move. Troy Torrence, take it away. Browns, Bengals.
So I talked a little bit about this game on Sunday, and you touched on the market, and I actually moved on this game before I had much confirmation in the marketplace because, like you said, I want to see it close below the 6. And it's interesting because some books opened this 6.5. Other books opened at 4.5. Some opened at 5.5. And so it's really the market's to be determined. So it's not like I can go digging in the database history, but you did touch on a couple of good trends for a home divisional dog, especially early in the season. But you talked about it for years now with this Bengals team. The toxicity in the locker room in the front office it's a shame to see with such a talented roster with 2 generational talents at receiver and a generational talent at quarterback. It's painful to see what's happening there. And the worst part about it is they do not replenish the offensive line position. I can't get my arms around it. I hate to see it. Last year, I had to learn the hard way about how this team starts slow. You heard it coming into last season. The Bengals start slow. The first 3-4 weeks are just they're dead. Fade them. And I just stepped right in front of it and was like, let's see it happen again. And I got crushed. 6 points is way too much for a team that's likely to be dominated in the trenches on both sides of the ball. The Cleveland offensive line returning to form remains to be seen with all the injuries they've had over the past few years, especially last year. None of those guys played a full season. None of them logged over 800 snaps, and 1,000 snaps is really if you play every single snap for the entire season. But if it is the case that they gain superiority on the offensive line, it's going to be a long day for the Cincinnati's defense, which is terrible. And Flacco, he's an upgrade at quarterback. It's not like he's world shaking. It's not like I'm like super bullish on Flacco being at quarterback. I've been there before where I was bullish on Flacco at quarterback. It's not going to be me this season unless I don't think there's anything he could do that really changed my mind on that. I do think he could bring quality to an offense, be the reason he won't be the reason a team wins. He could help a team win. So I do think there's a little bit of ceiling with Flacco at quarterback. And we've seen this matchup so many times before. Joe Burrow, and you might have touched on this, Jim, but you had me digging into the over a little bit, or to the total move to the over in this type of situation. Burrow played against Cleveland 2 times last season. In Cleveland, he went 15 to 25 for 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. They ran the ball for 2.4 yards per carry. And the Cleveland defensive aggression does scare me against this team because of just how talented those 2 receivers are and Joe Burrow is. And I remember watching that game in the defense of Joe Burrow and that offense. Like, they did not feel threatened by Cleveland at all. So it was like they were definitely playing not their brand of football, not very aggressive, just trying to be conservative, not turn the ball over, punt it, play field position, because the Browns were just a shit show last year. But if you take it back to Joe Burrow playing Cleveland in week 1 of 2023, he went 14 to 31 for 82 yards. T. Higgins got blanked on 8 targets. The same DB that's going to be defending him today, this week, is the same DB that was defending him in that 2023 season. I think this offensive line will be able to produce some points for the Browns, enough to keep them within the number. I expect 12 personnel. I don't give out many props, but there's a prop that I'm extremely bullish on. It hasn't dropped yet. It's a second tight end. It's a first-year rookie tight end, Harold Fannin Jr. When that prop becomes available, I'm going to be betting it. I think that this guy, I think we're going to see a lot of 12 personnel from the Browns. I know Stefanski wants to run the football, and he believes in this offensive line. Chubb was a skeleton of what he used to be last season. I think we're going to see an offensive line generate push. They're going to run the ball. They're going to use 12 personnel, and this Fannin Jr. is a dog. He can line up on the split them out if you need to. So, Harold Fannin Jr. over his receiving prop. The Browns +6 is already in my pocket.
I love it. I love that you got the 6. This is a game I would love to sit with AM and watch and argue and drink, because I just, for the life of me, I can't not, because the in our chat, the sentiments being positive for the Browns and backing the Browns, but what crazy motherfucker wants to bet the Browns? I mean, look, this team was 3-14 last year, and they bring in a 41-year-old quarterback to fix things. So AM believes that the public is on the Browns and that the sentiment about the Bengals is bad. I just don't see it, especially with all of the contracts that were given out, even on Action, which I don't trust, says 62% of tickets and 75% of the cash on the Bengals. And then on the board that I am trusting these days has.
I want to say this too about the Browns defense being bad. I mean, it's pretty much a very similar group of guys as they were running out there in 2023 when they were the best defense in the league. I mean, all the staples are still there. So what was the difference between 2023 and 2024? They were competitive in 2023. The defense was not uber, ultra, mega aggressive like they were in 2024. And then the season went to shit. You see veteran players give up all the time. I mean, you see non-veteran players from superstars on the Jets, for example, give up. We know that defense was great with the same pieces. You have a bad season, people start throwing in the towel. It's week 1. It's go time.
Yeah, I'm so I mean, coin us, where does this line come Sunday? Honestly, if it stays at 5 or 5.5, I'm going to have more confidence. So, by
the way I handle that, Jim, is I'm tracking the lines. I'm obsessive, like I mentioned to start the show. When I see it drop to 5.5 at one book, I go and buy a 6 if it's available. If it's not, I buy a half a point, 2-6 at -120, which is what I did here, with plans to add the 4.5 and add the money line if we close below.
Yeah, and obviously the Browns, The Browns last year, and you know this intimately, the Browns last year were not just 3-14. They weren't just 3-14 win-loss. They were 3-14 against the spread. They covered 12% of the time.
Yep, they were the worst tackling team in the NFL. They were bad.
And they anybody back in the Browns lost their shirt. So I don't know how the sentiment could possibly be. Anybody could be like, give me the Browns week 1. I mean, you have to have a sickness, and we have that sickness.
You infected me, dude. No,
it's only going to get worse, buddy. It's only going to get worse.
Let's roll on.
Let's roll on. Miami Dolphins, Indianapolis Colts is next. I capped myself onto the Colts. This is the one future that we talked about 48 hours ago that didn't move in the favor that I wanted to bet. And so I got a 7 instead of a 7.5. I'll take it. I like flat numbers for win-loss futures. Over 7 at -122. And as I kept studying the Colts, that's that sick feeling of how could you possibly back Danny Jones? I bet the Colts to win week 1. I doubled down. -103. This line's moving against me. This could be plus money. And I still bet it. Let's get into the line history and the cash flow here. It's the multifaceted. I'm also fading the Dolphins, even though they're healthy right now. It's something that I plan on doing. And I didn't bet the Dolphins team total or win total under at 7.5, although I'm still staring at it. This total is a 47.5 right now, a -107 to the under. It opened up at 46, heavily juiced to the over. That was back on June 4th. On August, when did it move for? On August 19th, it moved to 47. Then it went back to 46.5, a week ago. Not even like 6 days ago. And then yesterday, back up to 47.5. And then, wow, look at that. And then 14 minutes ago, it just dropped to 46.5. Wow. Isn't that wild? So it just dropped a full point 14 minutes ago. A full point legit to a pick 'em at 46.5. And then it came back 4 cents to the over. So overall, this has moved 7 cents to the under. Took me a long time to say that, and I apologize. I could have probably got there quicker. When we get to the spread, there's certain times when I'm capping and we have a show where I get this thing that waves over me where I'm like, this is so much fun. This is so exciting. Who needs anything else in life when we have all this action and all these plans and all this study and we put it all together and then we deal with the consequences. And it just waved over me just a second ago here. When we get to the spread for Colts, Dolphins, I think it's better to go to the money line. I think that probably tells the better story. So let me just switch over to the money line. We have them at -103. I mean, that's what I bet it at. This opened up at +104. It opened up at +104, and then the move was towards the Colts. This got up to -110. They were the favorite for a while. That stopped about 2 weeks ago. And then we talked about it in our futures episode. There was this 27-cent move towards the Colts on the 19th of August. They went from +103 to -124. And that didn't stop. It got up to -127. Now it's come back, and the Dolphins are the favorites once again. We get to the cash flow here for this one. We have 74% of the tickets on the Dolphins and 60% of the cash. That's my wheelhouse. You could say that this is also the wheelhouse for an under because 77% of tickets are on the over and 88% of the cash is on the over, and it's dropping. Tua is healthy. Tyreek is coming off a bad year, and so is Jalen Waddle. I think if somebody was to tell you Tyreek Hill is never going to be a Pro Bowler for the rest of his career, I think that would be -120. I think you'd get +100 for Tyreek Hill to be a Pro Bowler again. Jalen Waddle, first season not reaching 1,000 yards. We watched what happened. 2 high safeties. They stopped doing anything. Achane went from 7.8 yards per carry as rookie to 4.5. Jonnu Smith is great when you throw him the ball. What if he has to block? He's fucking useless. He's terrible. He's a terrible blocker. You lose Pro Bowl tackle Tron Armstead. You lose all their vets. I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick comes in because Jalen Ramsey left. Kader Kohu was supposed to be the only guy returning from the secondary, and he suffered a season-ending injury. He's gone. I mean, it's just look at so Teron Armstead retires. So now they have James Daniels coming off a torn Achilles. That's who's going to replace the great Teron Armstead. I mean, the more I study this, the more I want to fade them. They lose Calais Campbell. Now, maybe you could say, oh, that's fine. They lost Calais Campbell. Zach Sealer's become a monster. Chop Robinson's going to take the next step. And Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb are going to start resembling their former selves. Or you could say Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb are shadows of their former self and will never be back to who they once were. I mean, there's a lot of questions around this team and a lot of differing of opinions. Look, Jordan Brooks is a monster down the middle, and I can understand all the arguments. And the more I cap the Dolphins, the more I want to fade them, even if they're healthy. And maybe I should watch them first. You have Lou Anarumo coming in to be the defensive coordinator. We all love Steichen. I like the pick of Danny Dimes. I didn't it took me a little while. It's not that I was interested in it at first, and now I like it. I love this receiving core. We talked about it 48 hours ago. Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce, 22.3 yards per reception. I mean, he can stretch defenses. And now Tyler Warren comes in. So when you have Tyler Warren, who can also stretch the field, now you're like, do I want Anthony Richardson, who can throw a 60-yard pass but can't throw a 5-yard pass? No. Now, I don't know if Dimes can do the job. Bernard Raymond is a beast. They bring in Charvarius Ward and Cam Bynum to the defense. They re-signed Kwity Paye. Zaire Franklin's a monster. And look, does that mean they're going to go 9-8? No, but if they go 8-9, I get paid. And I'll probably get paid on Sunday. Troy Torrence, take it away.
I am leaning in your direction, Jimmy the Bag, and I know that's not a surprise to you. We talked about it on Sunday. I love Shane Steichen.
Oh, and sorry, Peanut telling me that Johnny Smith got traded to Pitt in the Minka deal. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Peanut, because this guy couldn't block. This guy was, and then they draft Tyler Warren anyway. So thank you, my man. Sorry, take it away.
No, you're good. You're good. So the first thing, I have so much here on this game that it's ridiculous. I'll try to summarize it a little bit. First of all, the market, a flippening event, which is coming back. I'm not going to get into the market. I mean, it's really going to be close to 50-50, even if we did see the flippening. So it's not really worth touching on. But the fact that the market was moving towards the over was turning me into a bull on the Colts. But now we see that coming back as well. So the market's to be determined. Look at what the Colts and the Miami Dolphins did last year in the matchup they played. It was 16-10, a matchup featuring AR-15 and Tyler Huntley. Throw that game away. We got Daniel Jones at quarterback. We got Steichens at the helm making the calls on the offense. I think they're going to be able to find success. They really need the O-line to perform in this game against Miami. And who knows what Jalen Phillips and Chubb are going to do after that injury. Chubb, he didn't play any snaps last year, and Jalen Phillips played 130 snaps last year. There's 2 games worth of snaps. Like and he didn't put up good numbers in those games. So there's really, I don't know how to feel about those two because they were dogs at one point in their career. Seiler, Robinson, they're going to be solid, but I think that this old line will be able to take care of some business. The left tackle, the left guard was probably the strongest left side of an offensive line in the league. Braden Smith with top 10 potential if he gets his damn mind right, and 2 young players on the interior with upside potential. This defensive line could be elite, but if Daniel Jones gets blocking for the first time in his career, from left to right instead of just at left tackle, with Shane Steichen calling plays, I think it could make a lot of sense that this offense could find success, especially the type of offense he wants to run. He wants to run read option. Daniel Jones runs a lot of read option and RPO. Shane Steichen's RPO game was elite, and we didn't see it much last year, and I think it was because of the quarterback situation. Daniel Jones is capable of doing that. I think Daniel Jones is going to elevate behind this offensive line. Now, the Colts certainly have an edge at wide receiver. You touched on the receivers. The way that my guy Pierce is able to stretch the field, his straight line running speed with his ball skills is insane. He's a great deep ball threat. You got 2 guys that can play possession and underneath. It's just a great tandem of receivers. And so the question comes, like, how is this defense going to look? I don't like how the Colts play cover 3 pretty much every damn down, especially versus a guy like Tua, a single high safety. I want to see 2 safeties up there. Like, can we get a change of scheme? Because Tua is so effective when he can just know that he's up against a cover 3, catch the ball, quick passing game, make a quick read and release it. I mean, he's elite at that. That's where he excels. I want to see a too high safety look because you could disguise a lot more of your coverages with a too high safety look. Even if you run a cover 3 out of it, run a cover 6. It's like an inverted cover 3. Do something different. So I hope we see 2 safeties. Like that's really the only piece that's really holding me back right now is the fact that I know the Colts just come out and they run cover 3. And that's what they do. They didn't change it last year when they were getting beat. So that's the one, thorn in the side of the Colts for me, and it's a strong one. But the fact of the matter is, Jimmy touched on this offensive line for the Dolphins. You can't have a quarterback that's so susceptible to injury with a quarterback like Tua Tagovailoa, who's just fragile as they come right now. Way too many concussions, wearing a light helmet. Like he's in trouble, man. If he takes a hit, gets sacked, his head hits the back of his head hits the turf, he's done. He's going to be sitting on the sideline. So it's only a matter of time before that happens, I believe, this season. I want to see what Danny Dimes looks like in a new uniform. I want to see Shane Steichen and Danny Dimes go to work. I want to see something else but cover 3. This is just hard for me to move on this Colts team right now based on where the market currently sits. I haven't moved yet, but it's definitely Colts or Pats. I mean, that's clear as day.
Our man Topset, Elio does not agree. He knows the Dolphins. He's a Dolphins backer. He lives in Miami, and he believes they're playing with a chip on their shoulder.
Good point. What am I talking about here? What am I talking about, Birdie? Oh, man. Anarumo. Lamorello. I think you said that wrong. Anarumo. He doesn't run cover 3, I don't think. I think, he changes down to down based on the personnel. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. What am I talking about right now? Cover 3.
And Big Lou also mixed with Dimes, who has been thrown away. They're both, we talk about the chip on their shoulder that Elio is saying that the Dolphins have, which is a legitimate angle. There's also a chip on Lou's shoulder and a chip on Danny Dimes' shoulder. And I do really like when a quarterback gets thrown away and has to watch and shut up and watch. And he didn't whine, he didn't bitch, he just shut up and he watched. He didn't complain. And he earned this opportunity. I'm a Steichen fan and believer. I'm not a Big Lou believer, but I hope he steps up.
What's the sentiment in the chat? I haven't been able to read because I'm so caught up in this, and now I'm mentally disturbed because I'm talking about a cover 3 scheme when that's not what we're going to see at all.
I'm excited to see what Lou does, though, because he, looked terrible. He was there at Cincy for 6 years. And when have we ever said that Cincy defense is a juggernaut? Now we can blame, roster management as well. I'm excited about the game. Elio says Tua is going to get hurt, but damn it, he's going down winning the game. We will see. I'm on the Colts over 7.5 wins. Oh, no, I didn't have to bet 7. I got to 7 because the line moved against me. I'm minus 122. So the 6.5 was minus 150, and the 7.5 was plus 105.
Give it to me. Give me the money line.
Colts?
Yes, sir.
What are you getting?
I am going to get – I'm going to take the money line and not the spread, obviously.
Let's hear it.
I can get a minus 105 right now.
You might want to wait. I expect this to be moving towards the Dolphins. It's moving towards the Dolphins right now. I was questioning whether I should move right now. I did move on it, but
but this is the lowest point it's been at. This is the lowest point it's been at in
a while
since the 19th, like you said.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to go much lower than this. I mean, maybe I'd be able to get a plus 100 at one point. I'm going to do it now because I'm on the show. I'm taking the Colts.
And Elio, I'll put a steak dinner on this one. You want steak dinner? I'll go Colts. You can have Dolphins, and we'll link up a Pubapalooza 5 and pay off steaks. So I'm in for that if you're in. Bet. Okay, beauty. All right. And AM just moved. Oh, he moved on the under 47 minus 110 a week ago. Interesting. Okay. And Birdie sent me a write up on Tuesday in Twitter DM. Oh, because today's Tuesday. Okay. Sorry, I haven't seen that yet, Birdie. I will definitely take a look. Thank you, my friend. Okay, let's roll on to our next spot on the board here. And as you guys know, those of you who cat with me, that 1 out of 10 bets for totals isn't over for me. And it's less in the NFL. And it's less in the CFL. It's just less in football. Like the 1 out of 10 is only because of hockey and baseball, where maybe it's 1.5 out of 10.
I did incredible on totals in 2023. 2024, I did terrible on totals. So we'll see what 2025 looks like.
I cannot wait to attack these games week in and week out with you, man. I'm on the over 43 in Raiders Patriots. Over 43 cost me minus 114. Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Patriots 4-13, 2-6 at home last year. Hosting the Raiders 4-13, 2-7 on the road. Again, if you give me information on these teams last season, I don't want to read it. I don't care. Don't care at all. If you're going to judge the total or put a total together because of, what these teams did last year, it doesn't matter to me. There could be rain, possible light rain. It's unclear. 6-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history here. I'll move back to the spread, and then we'll move into the total for this one. We have New England -3 at -101. They opened -3 at -102. Today at 3 p.m., this was a -3 at +108. So there has been a move, 9-cent move just today on the Dolphins. But overall, it's not moved very much. And I do think it's a very difficult game sidewise. I mean, it's easy to sort of get on the Patriots hype train. And so it's easy to get on the Broncos hype train. There's certain trains, and we know that the Patriots have a very easy schedule, second easy schedule in the league, and that's why their win total is at 8.5, which is a bit of a surprise. This total is at 43 and a half. It's -108 to the over. 43.5 -108 to the over. I got the flat 43. As you guys know, I really like these flat totals. And Coin's saying, did the Raiders really open up as a favorite? Let me move over here quickly. I didn't have that in my notes, but let me see. Nowhere. No, I didn't have that anywhere. They opened up months and months ago at +3. Okay, so Craig Wood says Raiders have an adult coaching the team for the first time in decades. Pats have a better version of Belichick at the helm now, under. So, of course, finally you have, well, not finally, because Jared Mayo was a defensive coach, and Vrabel is too. But and it's fine, Craig. We don't have to agree here in this one. And actually, let's see where the public is on this one. The public for this spot has 64% of the tickets on the under, 66% of cash on the under. So the public's with you. Bigger bets are with you. 72% of tickets are on the Raiders and 61% of cash. This Raiders offense looks so different. So this one averaged 18.2 points per game last year. They were 31st in passing and 32nd in rushing. We know that's going to change immensely. You got Geno Smith. He's got history with Carroll. You got Genty, who was an absolute monster, 2,600 yards at Boise State. You have Bowers, who set the rookie tight end record with 1,194 receiving yards. When him and Jacoby Myers, they were the only guys you need to worry about. And now there's other people you have to worry about, so he can do even better. This offensive line will be better this year. Colton Miller is healthy. You have DJ Glaze. Now, yes, Jackson Powers-Johnson is second-year center. I mean, but he'll be better than he was last year. Last year, the pass defense was absolutely horrific. We talked about their PFF coverage grade last season was tied for the lowest earned by a franchise in the past 4 seasons. They, Jeremy Chin, they brought in a few different players that can help. It's not going to be great. It's not even going to be top 15, but it's going to be better. You got Crosby and Kuntz healthy for the pass rush. I think they're going to be able to put points on the board. And I don't think their defense is going to be good. I think it's easy to say that the Patriots are going to be able to put points up on the board. And Carroll's going to want to go. So we believe Drake May is ready to go. This was the worst offensive line by far in the NFL last year. They started 12 different offensive linemen. They bring in Morgan Moses. They bring in Wes Schweitzer. They bring in Garrett Bradbury. I don't think Stephon Diggs can be a number one, but maybe he can take some. There's no reason to double team him. That's a problem. Can Kyle Williams do something? I watched it say, hopefully. Matt Collins, can he do something? I don't know. The question's out. Maybe he wants to show the Raiders something. You have Demario Douglas and Kayshon Boutte. Travion Henderson is going to help a lot. Gibson is the third running back. It's Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. We know that May loves Hunter Henry, and this defense is going to be a lot better. They bring in Milton Williams. Barmore is going to deal with the blood clots. The blood clots are just going to be an issue he's got to deal with, but they're going to deal with it. When you hear people on the under, they're like, well, look at what these teams did in the red zone last year. I don't care what they did in the red zone. Look, this is completely different teams to me. The Raiders were 27th. The Patriots were 30th. Look what they did points per game, 29th and 30th. I don't care. I think points are scored. I think it's a fun game. And I think I cashed the over 43. Troy Torrence, take it away.
Yeah, this is a tough game based on where the market currently is. But I've been looking towards this Patriots team. I love their coaching staff with Vrabel, McDaniels, Terrell Williams, especially Vrabel. You got to be able to trust Vrabel, especially with his history and his track record. He's competitive in every single game. I love his 3-4 single gap scheme. So hopefully we see a lot of that, because I think it's going to be great to defend this run that we know we're going to see from the Raiders. And defensive, like for the Drake May and Josh McDaniels, is this not a perfect matchup to reignite the fire and to spit in the face for McDaniels to this Raiders terrible, what seems to be is going to be a terrible defense? They have a soft defensive front, a terrible secondary. I think the Patriots offense is going to find success. And on the flip side, Patriots defensive front is going to be stout versus a good Raiders offensive line. We know that. I don't know how Chip Kelly and Geno are going to be able to really mesh in this situation. And we know Geno Smith has a history of being a bum-ass quarterback when he goes to New England. But I love this defensive front in this matchup. We know the Raiders are going to want to run the football. And I think that the not only the front line, not only the defensive line, but if you look at the linebackers like Spillane and Ellis, those are two guys that are quality run defenders at the second level. And the strongest suit of this team is their secondary, right? So where's really I don't know what the path is, right? They're obviously going to be beat. This defense is not elite, I don't think, at this point. But I do think they're going to be significantly better year over year. I think this offense takes another step forward. And I'm looking towards the Patriots, despite the market moving towards the Raiders, because the history of this, it's kind of tricky because it hasn't gotten there yet, but non-divisional home teams that open and close at -3, 12-6 straight up, 5-8 ATS. So I want to see it come off that 3. But in that same situation, right, spread open and close at 3, the money line market's still moving. If the money line market's moving towards the road team, home team's 5-1 straight up. 3-1 ATS means there's 2 pushes. The average win margin is exactly 3, not even a decimal on the end of that. And if you take it a step further, what happens if the market, we start to see 2.5 pop at Penny? The non-divisional home team that opens at -3, closes at -2.5 are undefeated. Undefeated ATS. Combine the results, we're looking at a 60% ATS trend, in favor of the Patriots, a 74% money line trend, and a 70% trend to the under. I want the Pats. I'm very comfortable waiting for this one and seeing where it goes. I think we have confirmation that it's not going to get up to 3.5. So worst case scenario, I take a juice 3. I'm going to be betting the Patriots. So, I take the ugly teams. I take the public teams as well. That's how I roll. And I'm going to be lurking in the shadows for a 2.5.
I felt like this is too easy. That's why, everybody talking Patriots. Now, maybe a lot of people are talking about the Raiders. I'm not around anyone who is.
What's your cash flow you got for the spread right now?
And even that, we'll get more about the public spots. But you're right, 72% of tickets, 61% of cash on Las Vegas. Yep,
and I'm seeing 60, 68 on Las Vegas as well. And Gente, there's some pieces that people in the fantasy world, it's truly the public when it comes to betting on the sides. I mean, look at the offense. Bowers, Genty, Cooper, Myers, like those are great fantasy options. That there's a lot of people probably looking at that, seeing Geno Smith, like I don't know. I think the public could be coming on the Raiders here.
They it seems like they are, and it makes no sense to me. And if that's the case, I mean, if we're here on Sunday and everybody's Raiders, then I'll run to the window to back the Patriots. I just find it impossible. I thought everybody's so excited about Drake May and everything that the Patriots are doing, and McDaniel's coming in. I mean, have you heard anyone say, I'm so excited about this Raiders team? But maybe they are, because Geno's there. Genty could be a beast. I'm not hearing that from anybody. I'm hearing that everybody talking about how excited they are about the Patriots and what they're building and what they're doing. And so, you know what, if I'm going to put this has got to be a big part of the notes. If the Raiders are public come Sunday, I will bet the Patriots. I just find it impossible to believe that's the case. But the sites are telling us that's the case, so I should believe it. Let's roll on. We have a possible move for Troy on the Patriots. I'm on the over 43 at -114. And I think there's going to be fireworks. I think there's going to be offense. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. Let's roll on to Arizona Cardinals, New Orleans Saints. It's funny. I told you guys that I have, and it's facts. I went over. I have a bad ROI on picking who's going to have the worst record. And yet I still did it. And what was crazy was, as you guys know, I spent like 48 hours stressing out alone in the dark, capping for our future show. And then I got sick. And so I was just like, when you're sick and you're just, I couldn't stop. All I could think about was football, like, in and out of consciousness for like, 16, 18 hours. And I could not understand how the Saints weren't the number one choice to have the worst record. That the Browns could be below them, the Giants were below them. I was astonished. Now that's changed in the 48 hours. Now it's back to the Saints being tied. So I lost a little bit of money not betting it as soon as I could. There's my guy Big Mastro in the house. Says he's on the Pats heavy. Says Geno is so bad outdoors, way better indoors. That is true, Mastro. And she probably should have been talked about it here. And Birdie talking about the value on the Browns. I'm excited. We're and Troy doesn't need an excuse to back the Browns. They cost them. They cost me too. They cost every backer. Have you ever heard of a team covering 12% of their games in a football season in any league?
No.
The markets are supposed to catch up, But here we go. Cardinals, Saints. So I moved on the Saints to have the worst record at +400. I moved on the Saints under 4.5 wins at +100. Both of those lines I could have got much better if I bet them 48 hours ago. And then I bet the Arizona Cardinals double result at -105. And I want the under. But as much as I want to trust the X's and O's when we have months and months to stare at these games, I couldn't get past this market on the total. So I've left it alone at this point, but I'd be very curious to hear what everybody has to say about it. First off, on the side, Arizona opened up at -5. It opened up at 4.5 for books that came out in May or earlier, but this came out in June at a 5, and it moved to 6 and 6.5. So we moved 1.5 towards the Cardinals. Then from a total perspective, I want to bet the under because I think New Orleans will have a tough time moving the ball, but it's very difficult under these circumstances. The total, well, maybe it's a little easier now. Wow, there's been some movement today. Wow. Okay. So when I was looking at it earlier, the under was, -110, moved to -104. Today it moved to +102. So there's 7 cents towards the over. The over's gone from over 42.5 and -108 to -115. So it's moved 7 or 8 cents towards the over, but all of the money is on the under. 71% of tickets and 90% of cash. And they move it 7 cents towards the over. That's just not my wheelhouse. Shouldn't that have gone down a point or a 1.5 if the books are actually concerned? It should have. Spenny Penny Bombs on the Saints team total under. I've got enough invested on them sucking, but I still want the full game under, which I haven't been able to get to yet. We have the trio of coaches for the Cardinals and Gannon, Petzing, and Rallis all in the third season coaching. Topset says Saints won't score. Yeah, that's the expectation. Also, Murray on the road. Kyler Murray on the road's been an under casher. In his career on the road, he is 25-13-1 to the under. 10 of those starts saw him close as a road favorite in his career. So he's been a road favorite in 10 starts of his career. 8 of them have gone under. Now, what's the first problem with that, right? You got to poke holes, and we're dealing with a way lower total. His totals are usually, 47 to 49, and here we got a 42.5. So there's the first problem. We have an offense that we expect a lot out of. James Conner, he gets beat up as the season goes on, but he's back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Trey McBride's an absolute monster. Marvin Harrison Jr., we expect him to show more. The offensive line comes back intact. They bring in Josh Sweat, and who's got a great relationship with Gannon. They bring in Calais Campbell, who's such a leader. They lose their first pick, unfortunately, Walter Nolan, lingering calf issue, so he's on the PUP, so he's going to be out at least 4 weeks. So we'll see if the 2024 first rounder Darius Robinson can step up. Linebacking group was terrible last year, and the idea that, I'm not a Murphy Bunting fan at all, but the idea that Will Johnson, second round pick out of Michigan, and then 2024 second round pick Max Melton won't get exposed is tricky. Now they have Garrett Williams, who's really emerged, and of course Budda Baker. You have a trusted safety, but I'm not high on them. And then you have Kellen Moore, Doug Nussmeier, and then Brandon Staley. We know it's going to be a long year in New Orleans. Carr retires, so Spencer Rattler's there. They have weapons out wide. They have Kamara. I mean, this is a pretty good group. They use their 9th overall pick to, on Kelvin Banks, so they have an offensive lineman. You have Cesar Ruiz and Eric McCoy healthy for the first time in a long time. So, and they've improved, we expect, their run defense. It was horrific last year. It was second worst. They bring in Godshaw. Their secondary is a concern. If the Saints aren't going to score, I want the under. I don't. But again, if 90% of the money is on a bet you want to make, and the books are just opening up their arms wider to anybody who wants the under, I just can't get there, even if it's week 1. Take it away, Troy Torrance. Saints hosting the Cardinals.
Really good breakdown, Jimmy. And I've already moved on a bet based on what you said right there. Let's look at the Cardinals. Looking at the Cardinals offense, it's hard not to see success. Saints graded out as 30th in the NFL against the run in the 2024 season. Should be right back in the driver's seat in 2025. And we know the Cardinals want to run the football. Inside, outside zone, heavy packages, RPO with Kyler, and just read option with Kyler. I think it's going to be very difficult for this Saints defense to stop the Cardinals offensively. And I think we're going to see an exacerbated version of that in this matchup. For the 5 down linemen, grade out as Fs for the Saints in the run D category. Some good second-level defenders, but that could be easily exposed with RPO and or play action. We're going to see that from the Cardinals. The Saints offense, how could you even come close to bullish when you look at Rattler under center? I just cannot get bullish on Rattler. He's put too much bad film on tape. I'm not as bullish. You seem pretty bullish on this offensive line for the Saints. It definitely has potential, has upside, but I want to see proof of it first, because when you're one-dimensional, when Rattler can't drop back, make a read, and throw the ball downfield, then there's no way that this run game is going to be successful for the Saints. I know they're going to need it. They're going to we're going to see the same stuff with Kamara. Short, an extension of the passing game, throw it to Kamara, give Kamara the ball, in between the tackles, let him run outside zone. We're not going to see, I don't think Rattler is going to be able to step up to the occasion. The market is extremely bullish in favor of the Cardinals, an open of 4.5 on the road. I was even more shocked to see it close, moving towards 6.5, 7, and home teams that open below 6 and close between 6, 6.5, 4-10 ATS, 2-13 straight up, 9-6 to the under. The only way I could look is towards Arizona on a teaser or ATS. But you brought up a good point. I like the price that I just bought on Bovada. I'm taking the Cardinals double result right now on Bovada plus 108.
Wow!
And I'm going to be looking for a money line parlay of some sort. Maybe it's maybe this is my one teaser leg that I want to pair something with, and maybe we could talk about a game that's coming up here soon.
Well, I got 13 cents better than I got, so that's nice. I got the -105. I'm late to the party, though. That could have been about, as soon as you heard Carr retiring. Not that you wouldn't want to bet it with Carr as quarterback either, but there you go. I'm on the double result. So is Troy. Troy getting plus money. You get plus money right now. Offshore. Saints worst record. Saints under 4.5 wins. And we roll. And Topset says, does this line close at 7? Yes, it does. And that's why AM, who's going to be moving on the Saints here, says it's disgusting, but that's how he likes it. So he's going to wait till game day. Yeah, wait. Who knows? 7.5. I mean, you could blow through the 7 too. All right, let's roll on to our next spot on the board, fellas. A double up here for me. Now, this was a bet that our producer, Jose Bouquet, made months ago. It was a bet that you made a while ago. And I'm not entirely sure why it took me so long, but I doubled up on it. I'm on the full game under with you guys. I got the flat 39 -115 at Bet365. And I doubled down on the first half under 19 at -110 as well. And I want the Jets. I just need to talk it out with you guys, and maybe I can get on them. Let's roll here. Let's move over to the line history and cash flow. From a line history standpoint, we have this. We'll start with the total. There are flat 39s without. It cost me 5 cents, but there's some books that are offering the 39 at -110. I'm looking at a 38.5 at a pick'em. This opened up at 39 on June 4th, moved to 38, a flat 38 on August 22nd. It's actually come back a half point. And right now it's a pick 'em at the 38.5. And it cost me a little bit to get the 39. It would have cost me 2 cents more at the book that I'm talking about, but I got it at 365. From a spread perspective here, we have over here. On the spread, we have the 2.5 for the Steelers. It opened up at 2.5 at -113, and it started getting juiced. This juice got up to -127 near the end of July. Then 3s came around. When it first moved to 3, it was still in July, and it was juiced towards the Steelers at 3. That was the high water mark. So -3 at -110 on July 30th. Since then, it's moved back towards the Jets. We got to the realm of 2.5s on the 29th of August. That's where we are right now, but it's heavily juiced, and you can get 3s. There are 3s out there. From a cash flow perspective, that's the wrong one. I don't want. From a cash flow perspective, we have coin leaning towards the Jets. We have 73% of the tickets and 92% of the cash on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Does that not make you want to run to the window right now and bet the Jets? 75% of tickets are on the under and 71% of cash is on the under. I believe that's become more extreme than when last I looked at it. So 71 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 7 miles per hour at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, where the Jets were 3-5 last year. The Steelers were 5-4 on the road. You have Tomlin in his 19th season, Arthur Smith in his 2nd season, Terrell Austin, 4th season as defensive coordinator. And the Tomlin teams played unders week 1. Since 2008, 6 overs, 11 unders, and a push. Also, in week 1, totals of 38.5 or shorter have stayed under at a 59% clip since 2000. But if you go back just to 2019, there's been 4 totals in week 1 that have been 38.5 or lower, and they all went under. Aaron Rodgers going to change that? Now you have 2 quarterbacks that played for the opposition. So hopefully there's a lot of knowledge about, how they want to succeed and how you should be able to shut them down. We've talked about how bad this Steelers wide receiving group is. They bring in DK Metcalf off his worst season, in his career. I do think that I'm not a Najee Harris fan. I think that Caleb Johnson has a high upside, and Jaylen Warren now is getting the opportunity. But this reminds me of the Packers wide receivers, 6, 7, 8 years ago with Rodgers. And Rodgers then was top 3 quarterback in the league. Now he's a journeyman bum. How is he going to possibly? I don't understand how the Steelers are going to score. Now, look, they're always more than the sum of their parts because of Tomlin, but I don't know how they're going to score. And then you have Cam Hayward not getting the contract extension, and he's angry. So I think Jalen Ramsey is better than the Minkah Fitzpatrick of now. I think Darius Slay and Joey Porter are, not climbing at this point. Especially Darius Slay, I think he's getting weaker every year. You have TJ Watt, you have Alex Highsmith. Look, they have monsters on defense, and then do I want Aaron Glenn in his first game as head coach? Do I want Tanner Engstrad in his first game as offensive coordinator? Do I want Steve Wilkes in his first game as defensive coordinator? I don't know if I do. And how easy is it going to be to double Garrett Wilson? I would challenge Josh Reynolds and Alan Lazard to hurt me. I would challenge them nonstop. I would double Garrett Wilson the entire time. Breece Hall's in a contract year. We once thought he was going to be a beast. Now we don't know if he's an RB1. The offensive line should be much better. We know the Jets' defensive line is very strong. They lose C.J. Mosley. Sauce Gardner has not been the same. Was it just 1 year hiccup? Is he going to be back to what he was in 2022, 2023? A lot of question marks around these teams. I'm on the unders for both of first half full game, 19 and 39. The 19 was minus 110. The 39 was minus 115. And I want the Jets. And 92% of cash is on the Steelers. Maybe I bet them tonight. Troy Torrence, take it away.
Well, I will say this. This is the teaser leg that I was thinking about parlaying with the Cardinals. So you get the Cardinals at basically a money line and the Jets plus 8.5 at minus 120. You got to stay away from those public book teasers. Go get the minus 120s. They're still available in the marketplace, but they're coming few and far between every single year that passes. I know DK just moved their odds from minus 120 to minus, I think, 135 now. Just like, FanDuel's at minus 134. You can't bet these teasers on these public books anymore. This market for a home team in this price range with a low total like this, undefeated, a perfect 11-0 in this exact market. You could expand on that and look at a 29-2 profile for the under, but this specific market, and as it currently sits, 11-0 perfect on a teaser leg, and these scores are very, very closely contested. And the broader trend ATS and moneyline is very 50-50, very coin flippish, like a lot of markets are now. This probably change come game time. But if it closes 2.5 or 3, market history says it's a great teaser leg. So I love it. But let's look at my probably one of my favorite bets of week 1. Looking at the X's and O's of this matchup, because we touched on a lot of, my thoughts on the Jets and the Steelers last week. And with the Jets, I love their coaching staff. It's a team that I think is going to be bet on throughout the season. I look at the X's and O's, and obviously I want to find my way on the Jets. We know Aaron Rodgers' limitations and his small ball mentality, which I think is perfect when you're going up a team with a pass rush like this. And last year, the unders were gifts in his starts, and I expect that to continue with Arthur Smith as the quarterback, right? Or as the offensive coordinator. We should probably expect to see the Jets on the other side continue to try to run the football up against elite pass rush. Justin Fields is your quarterback and your offensive line is your strong suit. So I think we're going to see small ball on one side of the field with the Steelers. I think we're going to see small ball or a heavy dose of rushing attack from the Jets. That makes me want the under, especially when you look at this total sitting under 40, sitting in the 30s, moving more so towards the under. Market-wide trends towards the under in week 1, the market-wide trend of a full season leaning towards the under. So I already moved on this. I'm taking the under 38.5 minus 105. And I took the Jets plus 8.5 cards minus a half of a point, minus 120.
I love it. I love it. Can you give me the teaser one more time?
Yep. Jets 8.5 and the Cardinals minus 0.5, minus 120.
You are in business, and then you moved on the under 8, and I knew you were on the under 38.5 too. You and Jose, I mean, sitting there waiting to join you, and I doubled down on it. If we're sitting at the book right now, I pull out $1,000 and I say bet aside on this football game. We'll split the profits. Are you on the Steelers or the Jets?
I'm taking the Jets.
What's keeping you off putting your own money on them other than the teaser leg?
Just because I want to see what happens with the market here. We might be able to get a better number. I'm not scared of the 2.5 to 3, and that's surprising because historically, like, you'd think that, it's hitting 3, like that's a really strong sign, or it's coming off a 3 down to 2.5. In the Patriots case, it's a really strong sign. But like in those situations, you can really trust your cap, and if your cap is telling you to take the team that the market's fading, you're in a perfectly good spot to do so. So I'm not in a rush. This is kind of like the Patriots in the same price range. But inverse, and it works inversely too. Home road dichotomy really doesn't matter. The 2.5 and the 3 is just a very confusing situation.
If we are come Sunday, I'm not going to bet this tonight. I want to sit with it for longer. But if we come Sunday and 92% of the cash is on the Steelers, I'm going to bet the Jets. I wanted to see kind of how this plays out, and it's not an easy thing to bet the Jets, but I've doubled down on the under. We have Troy on the under, Jose Bouquet on the under, and the teaser from Troy, Jets plus 8.5, Cardinals minus 0.5, minus 120. Let's roll on to another game that I hammered, and so did you. New York Giants at Washington Commanders, Northwest Stadium in Landover, Maryland. 70 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8-mile-per-hour winds. Commanders were 7-2 at home last year, 12-5, and a whole bunch of us took their under 9.5 wins. Coin did, you did, and I did. Now, I didn't bet it until today. It was plus 100 when we talked about it 48 hours ago, and now it's minus 115. So I had to deal with that. I'm on the Giants plus 6. I know you are on the Giants plus 6. I knew about that, and that helped me get there. But I didn't just stop there. I also bet the under 46. And I'm getting more and more confident in it, but I haven't bet the first half. This isn't a total that I've doubled down on, but it's one that I want to. Big Master says this is his money line underdog play. Harold Williams got the plus 6.5, but our guy Big Mastro on the money line for the Giants. Chosen one, though, on the Commanders. Top set also on the Giants. AM is on the over 45.5 minus 105. And I'm on the under in this one. And Jared TG on the Giants. And I'll explain. And I can understand anybody being on the over. And it's not just, anybody at this point. It's everybody. 82% of the tickets are on the over. And 95% of the cash is on the over. The only game that is close to this is the Baltimore-Buffalo game. That's all the money's on the over. This is the most money that's on any over this week. And other than if the Baltimore-Buffalo game wasn't second, it's a ways to third. And then on the side, cash-wise here, we have 52% of the tickets and 73% of the cash on the New York Giants. Line history-wise, this total opened up at 45 minus 105 to the over. It's now 45.5 minus 108 to the over. If 95% of the cash was on it. Now, and this is one of those totals that could still go up to 47.5. Like I could be sitting here Sunday going, oh no. Very, very possible. But I wasn't afraid to move on it, which is unlike me. With so much money on the one side, it's unlike me and moving slightly towards the over. I usually would want to wait and see what happens here, but I moved on it. The Giants are plus 6 at minus 108. They opened up at plus 6.5 at minus 103. That was back on June 4th. It moved to 6 on August 24th, and that's where it is now. If you want Washington minus 6, they'll give it to you with no vig. Dable, Kafka, and Bowen. Dable and Kafka in their fourth season together, and Bowen in his second season. As I studied Russell Wilson's stats, I was surprised. And we talked about this, and I don't need to rehash the things that we talked about, but they were much better. He was better statistically than I expected him. And we watched Tomlin choose him over Justin Fields, and we know that he has the bombs, the long balls. I couldn't believe. Look, we've seen those. 97.3 passing grade on throws at 20-plus air yards. What shocked me was the second lowest turnover-worthy play rate at 1.6%. And he's got Malik Neighbors, who will help, And he's got Tyrone Tracy, who many expect to take the next step this year, and he's got Scadabo there. The offensive line was horrific. We have a healthy Andrew Thomas to start things off. The defense was terrible, but their front seven looks exceptional. It's probably the best in the league. We don't need to rehash all that, but good God, with Burns and Thibodeau and Golston, and then you third overall pick in Abdul Carter, and then we haven't even talked about Dexter Lawrence. I mean, this is just beasts. It's obviously their secondary that's a huge problem, and Deonte Banks takes a ton of pressure. I mean, it just takes all the negativity seems to go his way. They bring in Paulson Adebo from New Orleans, who should help, and then I like Javon Holland, not just because his dad used to help coach the BC Lions, special teams and things like that, but he's born in Port Coquitlam, BC. For the Commanders, we saw this sophomore jinx happen to CJ Stroud and D'Amico Ryans, and I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's going to happen again because it just happened last year. But there's a lot of the similarities between what happened to the Texans last year and what I expect to happen to Washington this year. Then when we talk about Jaden Daniels, who's incredible, where is he not incredible? Where is he not the best young quarterback we've ever seen? Well, when he gets a lot of pressure. Pressure affects him. And now we have the perfect defense to give him pressure. And what else? It's man coverage. Man coverage affects him. And Bowen plays man coverage at the 11th highest rate in the NFL last year.
And he played it even more against the Commanders in the first two matchups.
And I just feel like it all lines up. It just lines up for me here. And Terry McLaurin gets the raise. Deebo Samuel comes in. Zach Ertz returns. When I didn't even realize that Brian Robinson Jr. had been traded, on August 22nd. Now I get it as I studied it more, but what are they going to do? I mean, they certainly aren't going to expect Eckler to be their RB1 for the season. I mean, so I don't expect them to be able to move the ball consistently, especially into the teeth of the defense. And then you fortify your offensive line. That's great. Laramie Tunsil comes in. That's great. But their run defense was a huge problem. Their pass rush was terrible. Now they bring in a lot of people to fix that. Javon Kinlaw being one of them for the Niners, but I don't think it's enough. We're going to sit here and is Bobby Wagner going to play 99% of the snaps this year like he did last year and not wear down? I mean, is Von Miller going to be able to be trusted over 17 games? Is Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner? I mean, are we going to sit here and watch these vets just continue to play, not get hurt and keep delivering? Vincent Hawkins says Debo is washed. I mean, there's a lot. This is a weathered group in Washington. And the more I capped it, the more I liked you being on the Giants. And the more I capped it, the more I thought, wow, I don't think there's going to be a lot of points being scored because I don't think the Commanders are going to put up 30. And the Giants' offense is not going to be good. It's going to be weak. And 95% of the cash is on the over, and it's moved up a half point. I'll fade 95% of the cash. Take it away, Troy. Giants, Commanders.
So, first of all, I will probably have more money on the Giants than I will any other team come Sunday. I might even have to add a 6 right now. I already got a 6.5 at minus 118 at FanDuel. Now it's down to 5.5 at FanDuel. And I think the rest of the market is going to be following suit. Historically, these teams that open and the line starts moving this way, they do close 5.5 or below. And if that's the case, this is the cash cow market of the NFL. We have the cash cow, which is a huge home favorite in the MLB. In the NFL, it's a big road dog, completely opposite, but the most profitable market you'll find when a team moves from opening 6 or higher to below 6, you bet the road dog every single time. And I'm going to continue to do that. It's been successful 2 years in a row. And even if it doesn't, look at teams that open and close between 6 and 6.5 with the money line market moving towards the road team. 8, we're talking about a half of a point range. 6.5. It's not a big sample. 8-5 ATS, but 10-3 to the over in that sample, and undefeated to the over if you get the market if the total's over 41. So I'm a little bit concerned about the play. I don't know why we're seeing such a high total in this game, because I do believe, like we talked about it on Sunday, there's massive regression inbound for this Commanders team, specifically with the offense. We talked about their fourth down, the best team in the history of the NFL on fourth down, and they were extremely lucky in close games. Someone mentioned it in the chat. Probably a few of you mentioned it in the chat. The Hail Mary against the Bears, which took $20,000 out of my pocket directly, was probably the most painful game I've ever watched. But the defense is weak in almost every aspect. Like they have a bottom 5 defensive line. They have one player in the linebacker at the linebacker level that's changes things, but the defensive line and the secondary is bottom 5 in the league. The offense is great. It has a young quarterback surrounded by quality weapons, but the offensive line is still very weak headed into the season. PFF gives the offensive line a 19th ranking. I disagree, but I do think that, with the play calling and with the mobile quarterback like Jane Daniels, he'll relieve a lot of that pressure. And you got to give him a boost with Kingsbury and Daniels, no doubt about it. But we're talking about the Giants' defensive line, which should absolutely manhandle this Commanders' offensive line. You have great athleticism on the edge with McFadden. You have 2 athletic linebackers that will be able to contain Daniels. And if you look last year, they held Daniels to less than 50 rushing yards and less than 4.5 yards per carry in both meetings they had last season. I think you can credit a lot of that to the athleticism they have on the front line and at the linebacker position. I don't want to bet this Giants team simply because of their offensive line. What I've watched over the past few years, and this is with Thomas out of the game mostly, last year is just, recency bias of how terrible they were. But if Thomas is healthy and he can return to form, he's going to elevate the rest of the offensive line. That's the most important position, obviously, over there at the left tackle. The New York Giants rushed the ball for 5.9 yards per carry in Washington last season. Why wouldn't they be able to repeat that with a better offensive line with Thomas in the game? Then they rushed for 5.3 yards per carry in New York later in that season. A fully depleted offensive line, right? Both games were decided by less than 6 points. Can Russell Wilson repeat what Daniel Jones was able to do in those 2 games? I think the answer is yes. I love this number. It's way too big if it's above 3.5. Massive regression is looming. The Commanders' defense could be the worst in the NFL, and the history of this market is turning me into a mega bowl. I bet the 6.5. Minus 118, and I want more.
I like it. Not everybody's with us. Chosen one on the Commanders minus 6. Ziggy Ball's liking the Commanders. AM says, I like the Commanders here. I think this Giants line is set to attract Giants money. It's an interesting take that I probably need to sit with for a little bit longer. The Giants went 3-14 last year. I know that I just maybe you're right. Maybe that it is because we know what divisional dogs do week 1. But how do you not look at this Commanders team and think, wow, they were so good in their rookie in Jaden's rookie year. Watch them this year. And I'm pretty comfortable with it all. Birdie says this. He says Washington D was all present for Washington and healthy all preseason. Says, I trust the coach with 3 months to prepare for week 1 to have them prepared. Says, I believe in Jimmy's underlook. Marty Riggs back in business. Great to see you, Marty C, on the Giants and the points. And Key says, so many people are doubting the Commanders this year. Makes me only want to play the Commanders. I get it, Keys. And the fact that they're now going to give you plus money if the Commanders win 10 games after winning 12 last year is it's the stuff I look for. I look for it in the offseason, and I found it. But Keys, I can understand that a lot of us might have a bias because we watched what happened to the Texans last year in very, very similar circumstances. So we shall see. We shall see, Keys. And again, the show can give value if you know when to fade what you're watching, right? This isn't we're not sitting here saying, hey, bet this. We're saying this is what I'm on. And if you find value fading it, then value is value. So thank you for being here. And let's roll on. I'm on the Commanders under 9.5 wins at minus 115, the Giants plus 6 at minus 110, and Giants Washington under 46 at minus 112. Troy is on the Giants plus 6.5.
Yeah, but I'm going to add a 6 as well. Damn, there's not even a good 6 anymore, man. I'll take a 6 minus 115.
Really?
Because I wanted to reflect. I mean, I got to put a bet in on the 6.
Because 365 was offering the 6 a few hours ago at -110.
Really?
But here we go. +6.
Yeah, I got it. You're right.
Okay, good.
Good call, Jimmy. You saved me 15 cents there.
Helpful. We roll on. Thank you guys for joining us here. Week 1 Bankroll Blitz. Carolina Panthers, Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think I've ever been as excited for a Panthers-Jaguars game as I am for this one. There's so many storylines. There's so much going on. And right now, I tell you, I want to bet the Panthers. And I don't know if I get there. And I'm very comfortable not betting them. But I did get to the window and bet the under 7.5 wins for the Jaguars at +100. And I got more and more bullish on it the more I thought about Liam Cohen in his first year as head coach. Grant Udinski, a 29-year-old offensive coordinator. And then Anthony Campanelli being the oldest of the group. I think he's 41. I don't even have it written down and then the youngest general manager, their general manager is 34 years old. Come on. There is no more complicated sport in the world than football, and that's what drew us to it in the first place. If they have a good season this year, I will bet the biggest bet of my life that they don't do it in year 2. Instead, I'll just bet a regular bet that they don't do it in year 1. But I'm telling you, and mark my words, if the Jaguars have a good season and these kids think that this is so easy, I will make the biggest bet of my entire life that they don't do it in year 2. The more I've been studying the Jaguars, the more I think that they should be faded. Trading up to get Travis Hunter, it sounds like he'll play 30 to 40% of the plays on defense and be a receiver. Trevor Lawrence needs, a receiver. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is ready to take the next step. I mean, he was 3rd behind Neighbors and McConkey last year, 19th overall of qualified wide receivers. They bring in Jami Brown. We've seen him do some big things. I've seen enough of Travis Etienne that he would not be my RB1. Tank Bigsby at times can handle the job. I don't think it's enough. Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen are very strong. And you bring in Eric Armstead, get him to play right tackle finally where he wants to play. Tyson Campbell is not healthy right now to start the year. I am saying, so 100% of wide receiver, 30 to 40 at cornerback. This coverage grade was terrible last year. They allowed the most passing yards per game of any team in the NFL. And if Tyson Campbell starts the year hurt, I just want to challenge this young coaching group. The decisions that Khan has made about the personnel he's had running his team is terrible. It's just been bad. I don't know who's whispering in his ear, but it's just fucking ridiculous. And I want to fade them. And Canales, Idzik, in their second season together, the fact that they brought Avero back is astonishing to me. I think I loved, and we made a ton of money on it last year. I loved watching Bryce step up. It meant something to me, seeing his character shine. It meant something to me when he was basically left for dead. CJ Stroud gets all the attention. Jaden Daniels gets all the attention, and Bryce Young is just a fucking bum. And he didn't complain. He didn't whine. He wasn't a bitch. He stepped up and played great football. Weeks 9 through 18, 6th in the NFL with an 86.1 passing grade. They've given him an offensive line with Robert Hunt and Taylor Monton that is going to, insulate him. And then, their wide receiving group is really weak. If Teteroa and McMillan can step up, 8th overall pick out of Arizona, it can change everything for this team. Chuba Hubbard is a beast. We love him up here. And not having Derek Brown, every year the Panthers lose the captain of their defense in the first game of the year, and then the injuries just pile on and pile on. I want the Panthers. I just, I don't know if I have the balls to do it, and I was hoping maybe you guys would lead me in that direction. Let's just take a quick look at the line history and then hand it over to Troy. From a side perspective, the Panthers are +3.5 at -106. This has gone through the 3. Jacksonville opened up 2.5 juiced. and just got more and more juiced. But August 14th, the juice had gone on the 2.5 from -115 to -129. Then we get the threes. The 3 became very juiced immediately. And now we have 3.5s. So maybe I shouldn't that's a key number that is blowing through. Maybe I shouldn't have the confidence to hammer it, but I want to so badly. And, having their under wins, maybe with Jacksonville, maybe it is like a bet on Carolina anyways, but it's not really. I'm just fucking. And then from the total standpoint here, we have a 46.5, slightly juiced to the under. This opened up at 46, excuse me, and it's gone up a half point to 46.5. And then when we get to the cash flow here, we have 59% of the tickets and 61% of the cash on Jacksonville. I wish there was more. It kind of feels like it's sharp money on them, and I should just sit back and relax. But 61% tickets in cash on the over. But to think that the Jaguars would open up as just 2.5-point favorites at home against the Panthers, isn't that setting people up to bet the Jaguars? Isn't it the opening line that's more important than the 1-point move here? Troy Torrence, take it away, my friend. Oh, and look at Higgsy in the house. Wow. $50 dono from our friend, the great Sean Higgs. Says a little dono for a shirt with sleeves for Troy. What a guy he is. Calling him a linguini arms. Is that your new nickname, Troy?
I like it. That's what I feel like I am relative to where I used to be. Training every day, 2 times a day, my ass off. I worked out for the first time today in over a week, and that was just because usually I get a little bit of work in every day, but not lately. Been getting ready for this NFL season, and I really want to bet the Panthers in this spot. But again, like you look at this market, it's really offsetting. You got a -2.5 sitting at 3. Moving to 3.5, and there's 0 instances. I'm shocked at this. We have not seen this in the past 3 years, where a line opened at 2.5 and closed at 3.5. So I doubt it's going to actually close at 3.5. We have seen some 1s, some 1.5s move to 3.5, but never a 2.5. I'm shocked by seeing that. And I look at this Jaguars offense, and I am not a believer at all. Another year, another terrible offensive line for the Jags. The poor offensive line play has clearly done numbers to Lawrence's confidence, because he is just continuously missing routine throws, routine reads. But I really do like the thought of Udinski and Cohen pairing on offense. Generally speaking, it should be a long-term positive for the offense. And on the other side, I love the pair there as well, Canales and Bryce Young. It did not work early in the season, like you mentioned. They came on down the stretch, and it bought them more time in the NFL. I think we continue to see Young's play ascend, good coaching, quality offensive line, young weapons, and I think these young weapons could be elite. Unfortunately, looking at this matchup, the Panthers have an offensive advantage, or they have the better offense between the two teams. The Jaguars have the better defense between the two teams. Generally speaking, I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched. So you're looking at a 3.5 for the Jaguars, an open at 2.5, move to 3.5. The bookies are seemingly pretty bullish on this Jaguars team, which is really putting some doubt in my head about any type of move on the Panthers. But there's really too many questions for me to move. How fast will Cohen make his footprint on this offense? Is Trevor Lawrence capable of being an above-average quarterback? Consistently missing routine plays, I just can't let that pass. And will the Panthers defense remain in the basement as it relates to NFL defenses? Like Evero is still at the helm, and he was awful last season. And will Bryce Young be able to take a next step in his NFL career? I think he will be able to do that. But I don't know if it's all going to fight. They're going to start firing on all cylinders fresh out of the gates. So I cannot move on this game. I lean Panthers. I'm ultimately forced to pass.
Well, thank you. Even if the Panthers cover, I've got to do it too. The market is just way too bullish here, right? I mean, we can't. I mean, you have to. I believe to succeed in this industry, you have to respect what you're going up against. And when you don't respect what you're going up against, you're going to lose it all. Maybe not right away, but you're going to lose it all. And for us to not respect this, I mean, it's only 60% of the tickets in cash on them too. Week 1 is the one time where you can say, oh, you know what? We know that the books get sharper as the season goes on. Maybe, that's a valid argument. You say, I wouldn't do this in any other week, but I'll do it in week 1. That I would, but you gotta respect this line here. It's bullish. Now, we give home field advantage 2.5 points, right? Right? That's 2.25.
I don't know. I don't know if I do in the NFL anymore. I think there was some market ratings that came out last year that says it's on average like not even a full point. But now, now there's teams on the other side of that where it's 2.5 points. There's teams on the other side where it's flat. There's no advantage. I think Birdie would have a better idea of where that sits. I think he's kind of, more into that number than I am, because that's what you need, that if you're working bottoms up. And I think he's closer to bottoms up than
I cannot wait for this football game, man. I cannot wait. AM bullish on the Jags, and I got very caught up. I got very caught up in Grant Udinsky. Going to be put in some really pressure situations. Not here, not in week 1. And it's not that a 29-year-old isn't capable of handling those pressure situations. I will bet that it's not easy, because I know it's not easy. And if they want to make it look easy, I will bet the biggest bet of my life. Mark my words, the biggest bet of my life on them not succeeding 2 years in a row. We roll on. That's the 1 p.m. games. We move on to Empower Field at Mile High, Denver, Colorado. 76 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 2 miles per hour. Tennessee Titans 3-14, 2-7 on the road. The Denver Broncos 10-7, 6-2 at home. We have Brian Callahan. And look, there's certain angles that just capture my imagination. And I think you guys picked up a little bit on it 48 hours ago when we did our future episodes. But Brian's dad coaching the offensive line is like, I love that shit. I love getting Bill out to coach these guys. I mean, I expect them to be very, very good. And he's got some talent to work with. They bring in Dan Moore Jr. and they have Zeitler, but J.C. Latham, moving him to right tackle where he played Alabama, it's a quality group. You have the 2 first-rounders in Skronsky and Latham, and then you have Cushenberry, who was supposed to be hurt but came back early. Why? Because Bill's there. I'm going to fight for that guy. I think the offensive line is going to be good, and they're going to need him to be good. Last year, the Titans cost their backers a lot of money. They were also 12% against the spread. 3-14 against the spread. Horrific. I mean, absolutely putrid. I mean, you couldn't imagine a team being worse except the Browns, but 3-14 against the spread, and the Titans cost me so much money. The Titans, I was a backer and a believer, and when Justin Simmons said nobody runs on the Titans defense, I was like, I know they don't. And then they allowed just the most ridiculous amount of rush yards. Since 2003, road teams between +4.5 and +9, with a total between 40 and 41.5. are 81.3% against the spread. 52-12. Now there's a caveat, and that's that they earned between 3 and 6 wins in the previous season, and they almost all fall under that situation. When those teams face a team that made the playoffs the year before, the road team is 22-5 against the spread.
Wow.
Look, I'm not lining up to bet the Titans, and I did bet the Broncos over 9.5 wins. But there's so many things that are kind of telling me that maybe Cam Ward has a chance to be okay. I mean, it's hard. I don't want him. I don't want him. I love Tony Pollard. It sucks that Spears got hurt. I don't think Julius Chestnut. I think he's like a great guy to have in the locker room. I don't know if he's capable of really being a backup running back. We'll see. I hope he is. And the defense was horrific. The pass rush is going to be bad. L'Jarius Sneed's got to return to the corner that we thought he was. So that is the Tennessee Titans. I moved on the over 9.5 wins for the Broncos. I know it's a public play and it's like a square play. Like I just couldn't help myself. I'm drinking the Sean Payton, Joe Lombardi, Vance Joseph juice. I believe in Bo Nix. 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. If you had told me that he was going to do that in his rookie year, I would have laughed at you. The 1.4% turnover-worthy play rate from week 4 onward was the best in the entire league. I mean, I was just astonished. I don't think Mims and Troy Franklin take enough pressure off of Cortland Sutton. I think that Evan Engram's going to help this team enormously. And then I think RJ Harvey has to step up because J.K. Dobbins is just a journeyman, unfortunately, because of the injuries. The offensive line is going to be spectacular. Quinn Miners is an absolute monster. They allowed the league best pressure rate, league best knockdown rate. Oh, no, sorry, the 4th knockdown rate. 11th run blocking grade. They bring in Dre Greenlaw. They bring in Talanoa Hufanga. They get Alex Singleton back from the ACL surgery. They have the defensive player of the year. They have Nick Benito. I mean, this is the best secondary since the no-fly zone. But those are some very appealing statistics to back the dog. Let's take a look at the line history and the cash flow and hand it over to Troy Torrence here. Our first afternoon game on the slate. We have Denver right now -8 at -105. They opened up at -7.5. It just moved to 8 40 minutes ago. So you could have got 7. You could still get 7.5, but it just moved to 8. This is the first time it's moved to 8 here at the book I'm looking at. And then when we get to the total for this one, we have this total. We have this total sitting at 42.5. It's -108 to the under. This opened up at 41.5, so we've climbed a point to 42.5. And then cash flow wise, we have 86% of tickets, 88% of cash on Denver, 67% of tickets, and 90% of cash on the under. And it's climbed a point. Troy Torrence, take it away.
I'm feeling kind of in line with where you were at to start this cat. The Broncos are the biggest week 1 favorite on the board. Home favorites in week 1 that range between 7 and 8.5 are 0-4 ATS, 2-2 straight up since 2023. But the Broncos last season, 6-0 ATS as home favorites last season. 3 of those came as a favorite of 6 or more, winning by 20 points on average. So last year in this market, and I ran into this market a few times where I ran into the mighty Broncos who absolutely destroyed me and probably made me look like a fool in front of everybody in chat. But that number where it currently sits, you're right. I mean, it looks appetizing to back the Tennessee Titans. Obviously, no one's going to want the Titans. The Broncos are in everybody's money line parlays, everybody's teasers. But it's not a surprise to see this number at the same time. I mean, look at the genetic makeup of this Titans team. A rookie quarterback behind one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. A complete lack of threats at wide receiver, running back, and tight end. A secondary which is headlined by L'Jarius Sneed, who received the worst cornerback grade in the NFL per PFF last season. The linebacker group will likely range from incompetent to average. The only redeeming quality of this team is the defensive front. Absolutely stout, no doubt about it. I feel like the Titans would be at least 3.5-point dogs on the road to anybody right now in week 1. The defensive front will absolutely have to dominate, if they want to have any chance of staying in this game. And I expect the Broncos to kind of match that caliber of play. I mean, the Broncos' offensive line is no joke, and we can count on Sean Payton to address the potential strength with scheme, right? I feel like, the offensive coordinator knows there's a good defensive front. You create a scheme to kind of take the pressure off not only your offensive lineman, but your young quarterback. And I struggle to make a case for the Titans, or defense. Like, it's really bad. I know rookie Cam Ward, his first career start on the road versus an elite defense, terrible offensive line. There's really no case to be made for the Titans, which is why you can't back the Broncos. It's insane to say it that way, but that's kind of how you feel after you do this for so long and you track your action, you track the markets, and you cap every game on the slate. You come back and you check what happened based on how the market moved and how this is not a good spot for the home favorite. And I think look at Bo Nix. Look at what he did versus quality defenses last year. And I know most of the quality defenses he played were early in the season. He played well versus the quality divisional opponents, the Chargers and the Chiefs. No doubt about it. He showed out versus those two defenses. But Seattle, I know his first game of the season as a rookie, 138 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Pittsburgh, no touchdowns, 2 picks. The Jets, 60 yards passing, 1 touchdown, no picks. Baltimore, 223 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. The Cleveland Browns, 294 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. I still think the book is out on Bo Nix. We can't crown this guy quite yet. I hope they blow out the Titans because we're going to come back week 2 and hammer the Colts at home against the Broncos.
Yeah. I mean, Coin says, how are we not on this under 42.5? The same reason why we're not on the Broncos. You know, it's a little different, but all the money is on the under, and it just climbed another point. Like, at what point you have to have enormous conviction to go up against the market, right? We know that. If you have it, bet it. I don't have it. Look at these stats. Road teams between +4.5 and +9 with a total between 40 and 41.5 are 52 and 12 against the spread. We're not talking about a small sample size. 81.3% if they earn 3 to 6 wins in the previous season. And when they face a team that made the postseason the prior year, 22 and 5. I mean, you either bet the Titans or you don't bet this football game. You either bet the over or you don't bet this football game. I don't want either, but I could get to the Titans. I guess I could get to the Titans. The Juice looking at Mims over 37.5 receiving yards. Jermaine says Cam Ward under passing yards, free cash. This is a very, very tough test for Cam Ward.
I mean, these games, like in the past 3 years at least, they do tend to go over these big spreads, and then you narrow it down to this total range, and it's not the case. So, but look at the road team covering at a ridiculous rate. Oh my God,
it's insane.
Do I just have to get? Do I have to grow a sack here?
Yeah. The problem is you have to publicly tell people you're betting it too. You can't just secretly. You can't just send me a text message.
No, I'll wear it like a badge of honor. You know, I'll wear this like a badge of honor. Titans bet on my card. I'm thinking about it honestly. I mean, even if the market's completely inefficient, so even this line moving towards the Broncos, I mean, it only makes me more bullish. Sad to say. Now, most of these games too. Look at this. I mean, week 1, week 3, week 14, week 1, week 2, week 6, week 5, week 6. I mean, these are early in the season.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts. I guess we can just move on from this one, but
see, and here's the funny thing about this total range too. This is a very tricky total range because I'm pretty sure, and I'm filtering it right now. Look at this. If the total was lower, right, the trend would flip. All the wins and the ATS for this home team in this situation with this price range is with totals below 40. And that's telling me that the Broncos are going to absolutely put the clamps on the Titans. So what are they telling us? I mean, they're telling us that, yeah, it's just so interesting to me. It's just so interesting. The lower the total, the more the big favorite cashes. Remember, I've talked about this before in prior years. But now we're seeing and the market's moving over in this middling total range. I mean, this is telling me Titans.
Yeah, it's and Ziggy Ball says you fade rookie quarterbacks making their first start, and he's on the road, likes the Broncos against the spread. If you'd say, well, did you do that to Jaden Daniels? If you did, you would have won. Remember, Jaden Daniels' first start at Tampa last year, he threw for 184 yards. They lost 37-20. And then he peeled off 4 straight wins and 7 wins in his next 8 games. And that 184 yards passing, that was the lowest he threw for all season long. First game on the road.
Look at this. This is insane with this total range in this price range. Insane. Low total between 7.5 and 9.5. It's a hammer the home team type of spot. We'll talk about it when we ever get that market.
And we'll be able to talk about it again on Sunday. NFL pop-up right here on Pop Sports Radio. Let's roll on. I am on the Broncos over 9.5 wins at -130. That's available still right now. Next afternoon spot, 4:05 p.m. Eastern. San Francisco 49ers 6-11, 2-6 on the road at the Seattle Seahawks, 10-7, 3-6 at home. Lumen Field, Seattle, Washington, 68 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. We talk about when the NFC West teams play each other, how the unders hit nonstop. And there's something about this first game of the year with these teams being fresh and healthy that keeps me at this point. Also, the big move, I feel like everybody knows that when the NFC West plays each other, everybody knows these games go under, and it's being bet heavily towards the under. This opened up at 45.5, June 4th. This was available at 40. In fact, the first move was slightly towards the over after, first 6 weeks. Then on August 26th, this moved to 44.5. Then it moved to 43.5 on September 1st. It's at 43.5 right now. So we've dropped 2 points. And I've not bet this game. We get to the spread here for this one. We have the 49ers -2.5 on the road. They opened up -1.5. And the line's just been moving towards them the whole time. Not in heavy, big increments, but it's just been moving towards them. There's not been... Okay, there was 2 cents of buyback on the 6th of August. That's it. Other than that, this is only moved towards the Niners. Once it moved the full point, there's been 3 cents of buyback since it got to the high water mark at 2.5. But this has just been slowly moving towards the 49ers on the road. Let's get to the cash flow for 49ers. Seahawks here. We have 51% of the tickets, 68% of the cash on the 49ers. It appears very sharp. You have 87% of the tickets and 83% of cash on the under, and the market's moving. This is all, pretty straight up. Sharps are on the Niners, lines moving towards them. Sharps are on the under, lines moving towards it. It's pretty simple. Dougie Wise, free bands, play of the day is the Niners, -1.5 at -115. Irish King is on Seattle money line. Birdie is on Seattle. And JM's teaser has Seattle +6.5 and Denver money line. Susie Easton leaning towards the San Francisco 49ers. 68 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 6 miles per hour at Lumen Field, where Seattle was 3-6 last year. Just 3-6 at home. I mean, they've not been good at home now for a few years, and the 49ers were just trash everywhere they went. Purdy gets the big contract. In 2023, he's one of the best, is the 13th highest passing rating in the history of the sport. In 2024, he's 13th among his peers, amongst the other quarterbacks in the league that year. McCaffrey comes back healthy. This wide receiving group looks bad. Debo's gone. That's fine. Ayuk is, coming back from the ACL, hoping week 6. Juwan Jennings is angry, and he has a calf injury. I would bet he doesn't play week 1. Watkins out with an ankle injury. DeMarcus Robinson suspended for 3 games. Jacob Cowing on IR. So Ricky Pearsall has to be WR1. Sky Moore has to step up with Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He was cut by Seattle. Now the Niners are going to have to use him. Now we know George Kittle's spectacular. The defense was horrific last year. 32nd in the league. Now Salah comes in. What happens if Bosa gets hurt? If Bosa gets hurt, you got to keep an eye out for if Bosa ever is not playing the game, because this defensive line is going to be terrible. Do you double Bosa because who's going to hurt you? Jordan Elliott, Kevin Givens, Gross Matos? None of them. Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Ufunga, gone. Javon Kinlaw, gone. Travarius Ward, gone. You got Fred Warner. You got Dimador Lenoir. But I respect this sharp action towards the Niners. I have no futures, nothing on the Niners for the first time in a while. I don't think I had them last year, but it used to be just a thing I did every year. And of course, there was a year I had them at 66-1, and they lose to the Rams in the conference final. 66-1, life-changing money. And I did, hedge a bit with the Rams in that game, but we have the 2010 divisional home dog here with the Seattle Seahawks. 23-7 since 2010 against the spread, the divisional home dog. 23-7 since 2010 in week 1. Geno Smith, he's only beaten the 49ers once in 3 years as a starter. And he's gone. So shouldn't this be great? right? You get Geno Smith out of there. You bring in Darnold. You bring in Cooper Kupp. You bring in Clint Kubiak. You ditch the guys who couldn't beat the Niners and grub the offensive coordinator and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Geno Smith. These guys couldn't beat the Niners. So you ship them out. Smith Najigba is spectacular. Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet should be very strong. This offensive line was horrible last year. If you ask them right now, if you ask Seattle fans, our offensive line is going to be huge. Abe Lucas is healthy, and he's a monster. Gray Zabel, first-round pick, is going to deliver. If you ask them about their defense, they're going to say their defense better than it's ever been. You got Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams. You got DeMarcus Lawrence. You got in the secondary, Devon Witherspoon, who's second Pro Bowl nod in 2 seasons. You got Reek Woolen, who's so great across from him. You got Julian Love. This is going to be a top 10 defense. Take it away, Troy. This is a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, personally, handicapping this before, really diving into this number, I was like, the 49ers' days of dominating this division are over. I was pretty shocked to look at a 2.5 line moving towards them while the sharp action disagrees. There's plenty of talent on Seattle's offensives on the side of the offensive side of the ball, but except where it matters most, in the trenches. They have one guy, their left tackle, Cross, who's going to be solid. Outside of him, there's a bunch of question marks, a bunch of failing PFF grades. And if you watched them at all last year, they were not good. We know Kubiak wants to run outside zone until the wheels fall off. We've seen him do it before in his last stint. I think we're going to see that again, and especially because the 49ers came off a season where they were 27th against the run per PFF. So if we project out a heavier mix of run, we should also expect to see a lot of play action, and that's where Sam Darnold thrives, 3rd in the league, in passing yards per attempt. I do think Saleh brings us quality scheme when it comes to stopping the run, deploying a cover 2, cover 4, where you could really insert one extra defender to fit the run. Can the first 2 49er draft picks hold their own on the interior offensive line? Taking away the cutback lane on the outside zone. I think so, going up against Zabel, Sundell, and Bradford on the interior offensive line. Why not? And I trust Bosa to be able to set edge on one side of the field properly. So I don't see a lot of, explosive plays coming from the Seahawks team. I think they're going to try to grind it out, win in the trenches, and, run the ball and put Darnold in comfortable situations. On the other side, the 49ers offense, I don't think there's a question as to what the 49ers scheme is going to be against this defensive personnel. It's going to be pound the rock. I don't think they want to get into a pissing match with this defensive, with the secondary and the linebacker group. And the 49ers offensive line is probably their strong suit, or their strong suit is run blocking. So, right, Shanahan has a proven ability to put together a successful scheme in the running game, has ran the ball versus McDonald's defense before, right? 2023, 5+ yards per carry for his backfield. And the Seahawks secondary has too much quality and too much depth to just go toe-to-toe in the passing game. Keep the Seahawks away from nickel, from dime packages. Ayuk is out. So I think we're going to see some heavier sets, which is, I would say, in the cards for Shanahan's, what we've seen before. I mean, I'm projecting this game out to be both schemes offensively to be predicated on running the ball and both achieving marginal success. I don't think the 49ers weapons are what they used to be. I don't think we're going to see that dynamic of an offense, especially in its current state. The defense looks like a shell of what it used to be with upside based on, some of the young players and their draft picks. This game priced, like you look at all these metrics towards this under. I talked about week 1 games going towards the under, but in division, when total moves towards the under and closes between 43 and 43.5, very tight range right there, but that's where I bet it. 12-5 to the under. If the home team is a dog, 8-2 to the under. Home dogs between 1 and 5.5, total moving towards the under, and closing between 40 and 45, 26-12 to the under. That's 69%. And in that sample, 14-4 if the game's in division. This conference going under at a ridiculous rate. I moved on the under 43. I didn't take the 43.5. I opted for the plus 100 because it goes under by margin in this market type historically.
It makes sense. I think I should just take the number and just be thankful I've got it, I guess. What did you get? Under 43 at what?
Plus 100.
And you don't ever take first half and full game unders?
it's so easy for me to stay away from first half in the NFL for some reason, but in the MLB and NBA and stuff where I have my other database sports, I always think I'm betting way too many first fives and first halves. So I never really double up, but I should consider it more.
So Juwan was at practice yesterday. So he says he's going to play. That will help. That will help a great deal. I guess I should just move on this under. This is the first spot where I'm like, I guess I came with 11 bets. There's a couple that I wanted to move on again, but I shouldn't be upset that I didn't move. I mean, the problem is I bet these unders almost all the time when the NFC West. So why didn't I move on it? At 45.5. It was juiced, but I could have got it 2 weeks ago. 45. I should have just done it without the prep. But all right, Troy on the under 43 plus 100, and I think I should join. I mean, it's pretty clear that the markets are respecting the sharp money, whether it be on the 49ers or the under. And I think it's pretty. You have to have a lot of conviction to go up against either of those spots, and if you have it, go for it. But I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't make me comfortable to see just everybody piling in on the damn.
What on the under? 87% and 83% of cash. That yeah. I mean, but the market moving it down to this number. Okay, I'll study it a little bit more, but I think I'm going to join you. Let's roll on. Next up for us, 4:25 p.m. Eastern, the Detroit Lions 15-2, undefeated on the road last season. At the Green Bay Packers 11-6, 6-3 at home. Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. 60 Fahrenheit, light rain, 7-mile-per-hour winds. Now it's possible that it doesn't rain, but that's the situation. I bet the Green Bay Packers under 10.5 wins at -135. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have a total at 47.5. This one opened up at 50. Now, it wasn't a real 50. It was pretty heavily juiced to the under. So we can say it opened up at 49.5. And then it was there. You could have bet the under 49.5 for a long time. It didn't move to 49 until August 25th. And then, excuse me, and then it moved back to 49.5. Kind of sat there. And then I guess it was basically on Monday, it started getting hammered to the under. 48.5 to 47.5. And it still looks like it's going down to 47 at this point. I don't see any. Oh, yes. Oh, I don't know if that's. Yeah, they're the flat 47s now. They're flat 47s offshore. Let's get to the side here for this one. From a side perspective, you have the Green Bay Packers -2. Oh, shoot. Sorry, that's the wrong book. Let me just move over to our main book here. We have -2.5 and -104. It's just 10 cents a vig in total, so it's only -106 if you want the Lions plus 2.5. This opened up at 1, though. Green Bay was a 1-point favorite, and it moved to 1.5 on August 24th. You could have got this at 1 for a long time. And it moved to 2.5 on August 28th, which is where it is right now. When we get to the cash flow for Lions Packers, we have 72% of the tickets and 88% of the cash on the Detroit Lions. Wow. 64% of the tickets and 70% cash on the over. Michael Parsons' deal excited a lot of people. Now he's probably going to need a shot or something to play because of the back injury he is dealing with. But there's considerable buzz, man. A lot of buzz. That's a joint sprain. He says he won't be 100%, but he can play. Joint sprain in his back. So he's adjusting to a new system, got a joint sprain in his back. This is a good defense without him. 5th in total defense last year, 8th in sacks. He combines with Rashawn Gary and Devontae Wyatt. They got Edger and Cooper as well, a linebacker. And Nate Hobbs comes over. He was bad last year. Keyshawn Nixon. They have Xavier McKinney, who's very, very good. We saw it with the Giants. We saw even more of it with the Packers. And then we have Jordan Love, ready to take that next step. But who the hell is he going to be throwing the ball to? Christian Watson, recovering from the torn ACL. Jaden Reed is still dealing with the stress fracture in his foot. He wants to play. They're trying not to let him. They have Dontavian Wicks. They did draft Matthew Golden. out of Texas, and Savion Williams out of TCU. Josh Jacobs had a big year. Tucker Kraft can be trusted, and they've got Aaron Banks fortifying their offensive line. For the Detroit Lions, they go 8-0 on the road last year. Don't have to wonder if Dan Campbell will have them pumped up and ready to go. You know that they will. Both offensive coordinators left. Ben Johnson to the Bears, replaced by John Morton, and Aaron Glenn to the Jets, replaced by Kelvin Shepard. This team can score and score and score. We don't need to break that down anymore. Yes, Frank Ragnow's retirement was a blow to the offensive line, and Zeitler going to the Titans hurts. I mean, you can't take those two guys off your line and get any better. Their offense is spectacular. I mean, we don't need to go over it. Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Sammy Laporta, Gibbs, and Montgomery. They're monsters. The big thing is they're healthy. They're healthy. They're healthy. Jack Campbell and Anzalone at linebacker. Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch in the secondary. Aiden Hutchinson. We talked about how spectacular the Lions were the best pass rush grade in the NFL after his injury. So through 5 games after his injury, they were 29th. They have Marcus Davenport to play alongside him. Take it away for us here, Troy. Lions, Packers at Lambeau.
This is one of the toughest games of the week, in my opinion. There's still so many questions to be answered in this game. Obviously, I look towards the under right away, seeing how massive of a market move we've seen in this game. And, I look at Goff with his new offensive coordinator. How is he going to operate in this situation without Ben Johnson? And he's outdoors, he's on the road. I don't know how he's going to operate under this offensive line. They went from elite, absolutely elite, tier 1, top of the tier 1, to average. We know Goff had major issues prior to acquiring the best offensive line in football and being under Ben Johnson. I think we could see those issues resurface, especially outdoors, right? You can't depend on a dominant running game anymore and an elite pass protection. I think things are going to change for this offense. They're not going to be quite as dynamic. Obviously, they have enough talent to be able to produce. They're still very strong at tackle. They have talent all over the place. And Goff knows how to execute an offense. But there's also questions on the Packers side of the ball. Is Love going to be able to regain the footing he had in 2023? I think he put a lot of bad tape together in 2024. He wasn't playing with anticipation. But I love the scheme that the Packers deploy. Run the ball, deep pass or short pass. Really no mid-range, no intermediate. They throw it there at the least rate in the NFL, right, Jim? If the Packers can play cover 1, mix in cover 3, and apply pressure on 4th down, I think it spells trouble for Goff. And if I remember correctly, Goff struggles with single high safety looks. So I think we're going to see the Lions try to pound the rock. Only one player in the Packers front 7 grade out above average versus the run. And it got even worse with the departure or the acquisition of Micah Parsons, who I said this about him earlier, gets way too far upfield, creating massive holes. Last year, the Packers defense graded out 24th per PFF. Not very good in yards per carry. And I think they get worse in the run defense category, based on their roster composition. Lions should be able to find success on the ground. I think there's a lot of upside with this Packers team. Looking at the offense, it's not really looking at the offense, it's really thinking about Jordan Love and what we have seen from him, his ability to drive the ball outside of the far number, which you don't see very often. If it wasn't for the Lions' change of offensive coordinators and all the questions that come with this offensive line, I would already be on the Lions side. Then you see the public hammering the Lions. There's so much uncertainty in this matchup in a divisional game to really feel confident in anything. Like I lean towards the Lions. I lean towards the under, but I have not moved on any of it yet.
In week 1, how do you bet against the divisional home dog?
Yeah, right. So I'm not betting the other side either. Yeah, there's no way I'm taking the Packers.
I don't want the Packers.
No way.
So it's Lions or pass, but I just, if there's a certain angle that wins year after year after year after year after year, you need to have conviction to bet against it. If you have that conviction on the Lions, you should hammer it. You don't need much conviction to back the divisional home dog in week 1. You can just kind of like them. I just don't kind of like the Packers, and I'm taking them to win less than 11 games this year. And I can't wait to watch this football game at Lambeau. Under 10.5 wins, minus 135. No action for Troy. And I think you're right. It's a very difficult game to cap. Andrew G says Packers will be very public with Micah Parsons on ESPN every day. Well, they're not here because the Detroit Lions printed Capper's money last year. Printed the money. 8-0 on the road. 72% of the tickets, 88% of cash on the Lions. I thought the Packers would be more public, but I guess when you go up against the Lions, nobody's public. The Lions are always going to get the backing of the public and not always the big bets, but at least the tickets. All right, let's roll on. Next up for us, we have 4:25 p.m. Eastern action. Houston Texans at Los Angeles Rams, SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. These teams had very similar records last year. 10-7, 5-4 on the road for the Texans. 10-7, 5-4 at home for the Rams. And I made my biggest investment on the Rams. It was not comfortable. I mean, would I be surprised if this goes up in flames in the first half of the year because Matt Stafford gets hurt? No. In that regard, then, should I have not made this bet? Is there an angle where Matt Stafford wins the Super Bowl and retires? Yes. I don't. The longer I sit with the amount I have invested in the Rams, I feel like a pit in my stomach. I got 20-1 on the Super Bowl. I got plus 200 to win the West. And I got over 9.5 wins. And that was expensive. That was minus 140. I wanted to bet the Texans to win the division. But I think that the Rams have a good chance to win this football game. So if the Rams win the football game, depending on the results, of the other teams in the South, if the Rams win this football game, I will then bet the Texans to win the division. And I should get it's minus 105. I should get plus money, shouldn't I? Especially if the Colts win. But we shall see. JM says Houston has red zone issues. Let's break down this one here. But the Rams are my biggest future investment of the season. When we get to the line history here for this one, we have the Rams -3 at minus 104. It was 2.5 until Stafford said he was good to go. Even though we knew he was good to go, I could have got the 2.5 when it was available. And I probably should have bet it. I don't know if there's a real point now with the investment I've made in the futures market to move on them. And that's why the being involved in futures market sort of gets to me because it messes up my day-to-day action. This total opened up at 46. It's now 44. It moved to 44 a long time ago. It moved August 9th. So it was Sharps that moved it. I mean, remember the TCU North Carolina game. Sharps moved that number 4 months ago. Moved it heavy. Those are the line moves that you should be worried about. So maybe because of that, I should bet the under in this game now. The under 44 is juiced. I see 43.5 now. Because when the books move the lines that fast, it's because their best gamblers are betting it. When we have... Oh, here we go. Okay, sorry. So let's get to the cash flow then for Rams Texans. We have 60% of the tickets and 56% of the cash on the Texans. It's another reason why I should probably move on the Rams. Under has 90% of the tickets and 78% of cash. Maybe 90% of tickets is not what you're looking for. Dougie Wise on the Texans +3. AM on the over 44.5 at +100. We have for the Texans, Nick Caley, first year as offensive coordinator, Matt Burke and DeMeco Ryans came together, a package together, third season. The Texans just fell off last year, right? We knew that. 14th in offensive DVOA, and then last year, 26th. And Stroud has weapons at his disposal. Stroud was bad last year, but the injuries created that. Now, there's no Joe Mixon. He's on the reserve, placed on the reserve non-football injury list. He's been dealing with this ankle injury. He wasn't available to play in the OTAs or the minicamp or anything like that. So Nick Chubb has a chance to resurrect his career as RB1. Damian Pierce, same thing can be said about him, and he's just not being able to follow through from that rookie year. This offensive line was horrific, and it screwed Stroud. They were 25th in PFF, And Stroud just wasn't as good. He was terrible at deep balls, where he was the best in the NFL in 2023. He was 29th in 2024. He was sacked 52 times, and Laremy Tunsil goes, and they say Cam Robinson is going to replace Tunsil. Now, they bring in Jake Andrews at center. The offensive line is coached by Cole Popovich. Kaylee, Andrews are all very close. Kaylee, the offensive coordinator. Popovich, who handles the offensive line, and then the Jake Andrews at center. So that should help, right? That should help them. We know that Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter are monsters. Troy and I are very high on Azeez Al-Shaair. He's a monster, and this is the second best secondary in the NFL behind the Broncos, and it's a secondary that says they're better than the Broncos. And we'll have to see, but if anybody watched Stingley last year, and now Petrie coming back from the torn pectoral. For the Rams here, look, we all saw it. They were the toughest test the Eagles had to play in the playoffs. This is a team that's better than they were last year. And I think that Jared Verse is, going to be the number one enemy of every quarterback in the league. Should I move on him Defensive Player of the Year? 89 quarterback pressures in 2024. And then they bring in Poona Ford. The Chargers are going to feel the loss of Poona Ford. Poona Ford was finally they're the guy to stop the run, and now the Rams have him. There are question marks around the linebacker core, but I can't wait to hear your breakdown, Troy. Take it away. Texans, Rams.
Oh, this is one of the toughest games for me. Because I see elements of not only the market that I like for both sides, like the total moving towards the under, it favors the home team, but the fact that this is not a conference game, all favors the road team in this price range. You can make a case for either side. And I will say this, because I'm bullish. I was going to bet this under, but there's a few things that stopped me in my tracks. First of all, line movement on totals for Texans on the road went 0-5 last season. If the market moved towards the under, it went over a perfect 3-0. Small sample, but it's definitely something worth noting. Second of all, how can you not make a case for this under? You look at all the elements of this matchup, two quality defenses and quality play callers. The Texans probably have the best defense in the NFL, ability to run base defense, apply pressure, and cover in the secondary. And the Rams defensive front, which should absolutely eat versus bottom 5 offensive line. But that also could be a net negative when you think about turnover situations, 3 and outs, and other. We've seen that before. Top defensive line going up against a bottom offensive line. You think, oh, they're not going to score a lot of points, but somehow that leads to more points because of the turnover situation. We're giving McVay an extraordinary amount of time to prepare for this defense. So I think that if anything, I kind of start leaning the Rams, because I do think that the Rams are going to be schemed up and coached up to be able to handle it. Two great coaching staffs. Both defenses seem to be in favorable matchups. The Rams will need to find success on the ground and use play action. The Texans will need to find success in the air, but need to stay in a favorable down and distance, which I don't think they will be able to. The fact that the Texans have a bottom 3 offensive line makes me lean towards the Rams. That's what really this comes down to, which is not enough to make a move. So I'm passing on this game completely.
Oh, man. I want to add the Rams so much, but I just hate having all these eggs in one basket in week 1. I want to add the Rams. I want to add the under. I know it's a small sample size. What you said about the Texans does concern me, but this is just such a powerful move towards the under. Those moves that happened 2 or 3 months ago. And then obviously the TCU North Carolina game's in my head, but that was like a 4.5 point move 3 months ago.
Yeah, I moved on TCU. I was hoping to get a 3. I just had to pull the trigger on 3.5.
These moves that happened 3 months ago, I mean, that's dangerous shit. There's fucking limits. The books are trying to figure stuff out, and their sharpest guys tell them that, oh, we've made a mistake. So, look, I'm going to probably end up on the Rams. And if that's the case, I should probably... the thing is, I don't need to. I should probably bet the under too. Fuck. God damn it.
I feel that way too. If I had to move on anything in this game, it would be on the under. Okay. I'm going to have to figure that out.
I mean, it's just week one to be fucking pacing back and forth with your shirt off and a bottle of fucking whiskey. It's not necessary, and that's what would be forced to happen if I've got all the futures, and then the bet. It's just a little much. Birdie says, "Does the under make more sense overall because Stafford hasn't really played football in weeks?" I feel like he's the kind of guy that can just fit in McVay's. Like he just knows exactly what to do. I don't know if the muscle memory needs to be active. I feel like he could just, he doesn't need a couple games to get rolling is kind of what I'm inferring, but I'm going to need to take more time here with it. I don't think he needs, I think he could walk in. I think he could play the Super Bowl tomorrow. I mean, look, all Pete Carroll wanted was Stafford, right? That's all. He's like, okay, I'll come back. Let's get us Stafford. And they tried everything they could to get Stafford. And McVay was like, fuck off. And so they were like, okay, we'll go with Geno Smith and try to do something. I mean, Stafford is elite. Let's talk about the Sunday nighter. Ravens, Bills, Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park, New York. We'll be live right here on Pub Sports Radio for this one. 57 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 11-mile-per-hour winds. And I did move on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl plus 650. And I did move on the Ravens over 11.5 wins at minus 130. You have Zach Orr in his second season. I think that first season was important to get it under his belt. Todd Monken in his third season, and Harbaugh, of course, season 18. Let's get into the line history here for our Sunday nighter. There's been a monstrous move towards the Ravens. Now, we should probably look at it on the money line. And if it goes from +1 to -1 in 4 months, is that a monstrous move? No. But it did open up, in May at +2. I don't want to fade the Buffalo Bills at home. And I have every reason not to want to do that. Right now, the Ravens are minus 113. They opened up at plus 110. Minus 113 seems like a fine price. And it's because of what happened in the playoffs. They've been talking about it, all offseason. They completely outplayed the Bills, except for all the most important moments of the football game. So does that count as outplaying? No. But they outgained them massively. They should have won that football game, and yet they didn't. 27-25. We have a total here at 50.5. It's juiced to the over. This opened up at 52.5. It opened up at 53.5 when it came out in April and May. But here I'm looking at a line that came out on June 4th and opened at 52.5, and it's dropped to 50.5. We get to the cash flow here. We have here we go. We have 70% of the tickets and 64% of the cash on Baltimore. 70% of the tickets and 93% of cash on the over. 93% of cash on the over, and it's dropped 2 points. Does that not make you want to run to the window and bet the under? The Ravens are underdogs now, no longer, but this was the only spot on the season on look-ahead lines that they're expected to be underdogs. The only one. Baltimore has been a regular season dog 9 times in the past 3 years. They're 5-3-1 against the spread when that happens. And they're angry. They outgained Buffalo 416-273 in the AFC divisional round. Buffalo became the first team to win a playoff game while gaining under 300 total yards and allowing 400 or more total yards since 2015. Carolina Panthers did it in the divisional round versus the Seahawks. We talked about how spectacular Lamar Jackson was last year. First quarterback in PFF history to record 90-plus passing grade and 90-plus rushing grade. The offense returns almost everybody. Now, maybe Derrick Henry, maybe he can't. Look, 325 carries is a lot. Can he step up and do it again? Because him and Lamar Jackson created the Ravens to have the best team rushing grade in PFF history. The Ravens were 11-0 when Derrick Henry rushes for 90 yards. They bring in DeAndre Hopkins. Seems like every year they bring in an older receiver. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman are the leaders here. You got Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely both in contract years. You re-signed Ronnie Stanley, Tyler Linderbaum, and 4-star and Pro Bowl center. I mean, this team is just monstrous. Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, Madubuike. Kyle Van Noy, Owe. Where then you bring in Malachi Starks? That's their first overall pick, a safety out of Georgia. And then you have their number one pick in 2024, Nate Wiggins at corner. I mean, this team is just look, they're the best team in the NFL. It's clear to me. They're the best team in the NFL. But you need certain intangibles to win in the playoffs and to win Super Bowls. And this team doesn't have it, right? They don't have it. Every year they fail to menace in the most important moments. But if you look at a roster, it's so clearly to me the best team in the NFL. And sitting here, capping these teams and sitting here, I was like, well, how can I not want to put in my pocket a future bet on the best team in the NFL? So that's what I did. And I want to bet them here because they're so angry at how the Bills beat them in the divisional round. But who wants to fade the Bills at home? I don't want to fade them at home. McDermott in season 9, Brady in season 2, Babbage in season 2. Franchise record, 525 points. They scored 30 or more 13 times, 40 or more 4 times. They only turned the ball over 8 times. Josh Allen was only sacked 14 times. I mean, look, this team is very good, but they're not nearly as good personally, player for player than the Ravens. They just have Josh Allen, who's absolutely spectacular. Keon Coleman didn't look that good in his rookie season. Curtis Samuel did fucking zilch. Kincaid hasn't taken the next step. They have the oldest secondary I've ever. Their safeties were graded 31st in the league. Look at Benford, Rapp, Taylor Rapp. I mean, Taylor Rapp is slow now. Cole Bishop, DeMar Hamlin, Teron Johnson. There's just not enough talent. Yes, Greg Rousseau showed that he could be great. The time to get your future in on the Bills is in week 6, after week 6, when Ogunjobi and Hoyt come back from their suspension. How can I make these bets and not be on the Ravens here on Sunday night? The answer is I am going to be on the Ravens on Sunday night. I think after I hear Troy's breakdown, and it's hard for me not to be on the under either. So, God, these games, starting with the Rams game, I'm filled with all this fucking stress and anger and all this shit. I feel like a fucking powder keg. Take it away, Troy. Sunday night football, Ravens, Bills.
It's fun. Well, for my cap, I'm going to start with what's the most pressing issue for me, which is the market, because it's not often we see numbers go through 0. And how many times have we seen it in week 1 of this season? Absolutely insane. And one of the data points that keeps resurfacing, being back in the database pretty much every day, is how often these numbers go under the total. And it makes sense. Tightly contested games, these low numbers, meaning like when you have a tight spread like this between the 3s, especially between the 1s, how often do these games just go under at a ridiculous clip? And it makes sense, tightly contested game, every possession matters, managing the clock. And the NFL is the most efficient markets in the league, and I view that as a beautiful thing, the way we cap it, Jimmy. So under is definitely on the table for me. And if you look at the samples, so first of all, I want to talk about how a home team flipping from a dog to a favorite has not been a good thing historically. The road team is still winning outright 57% of the time. But if you narrow that down and really look under the hood at the quality teams, the teams of the caliber of the Bills, and there's not that many on here, right? That really reduces the sample, but that 57% ATS and straight up turns into 67% ATS and straight up. We're talking about the Bucs, the Rams, the 49ers, the Texans. I feel like this is a great market, honestly, to be back in the Ravens. And it turns into an undefeated sample when you start looking at all the cash. It's like almost like the sharp trap in the MLB. That's kind of what this type of market reminds me of. And if you look at the matchup, how could you not? I mean, I've given a very similar pitch on this team historically when they match up. I love it. Look in the trenches. I give a slight edge to the Ravens' interior defensive line. The matchup looks better on the outside than it did last year. Insert Jair Alexander and first-round pick Malachi Starks. That's only going to improve the situation. I'm almost certain we're going to see Roquan Smith manned up on Josh Allen. I don't think Bills are going to allow the Ravens to play nickel. So I think we're going to see a lot of heavy personnel. We've seen it a lot last year, which is a huge switch up from what the Bills used to be before that. And if you flip the field, you're going to get really bullish looking at the Ravens offense versus Bills defense. On paper, it looks like a pretty even matchup in the trenches. And again, a slight edge. slight advantage with Ed Oliver over these Ravens guards. Like, I'm trying to give you all the points, right? Maybe Ed Oliver has an edge inside on the interior, but the Bills defense is not built or schemed to be able to handle this Ravens offense. Bend but don't break won't work in a situation where you cannot stop the run. The Bills were 25th in the league last year per PFF. Bills were 26th in run D. Their linebackers are tiny relative to the NFL standard. I say this every time we talk about them. Can they stop the run when you got a 6 foot? Here's their linebackers: 6 foot, 223 pounds, 6'1", 224 pounds, 6'1", 230 pounds. That's not big enough to handle a rushing attack of this caliber. Their best run defenders are in the secondary, and I expect the Ravens to get absolutely what they want offensively, which is why I haven't moved on the under, because I am bullish, totals dropping down in this, in week 1 of the NFL season. But we got playoff revenge for the Ravens. If not for a fluke Andrews fumble and a Lamar fumble on 2nd and 10, Ravens would be representing the AFC in the Super Bowl, in my opinion. The Ravens running game is simply going to be too much to handle. I got the Ravens. I bet at money line -102 at Bet Online.
I'm going to join you. Can you hit again? And I know you just did, but can you hit me again while you're not on the under? And I don't mean to make you repeat yourself. I just want to hear it again.
So part of the reason I'm not on the under is because I don't see how the Bills defense is going to be able to manage this Ravens offense. Like I on paper, and it's not the right answer. That's not the right answer, right? Thinking I'm smarter than the bookies and them dropping this total down is not the answer. But I do think the Ravens offense is in a really good position. But there's definitely some elements of the under that I do like. But man, it's really tough not to be on the under. And really, I guess I'm trying to give you, I'm grasping at straws as to why I'm not on the under. I guess it's because I like the Ravens side more than I like the under, which probably isn't a really good answer.
If this goes over, it's in the fourth quarter scoring. Like, it's fourth quarter craziness. It's someone coming back from it's not the first half under. Should be bet as soon as possible. I think that, God, I just it's funny. It's the cluster of investment. In baseball, you have $2,000 to $3,000 a day invested. And some of you have way more than I do. Just for me, but it's then you set yourself up where you got $6,000 to $8,000 in play on a day, and it starts, and you're like, oh Jesus, going up and up and up and up and up, and next thing you know, it's 9, and then it's 10, and it's week 1, and it's starting to get to me a little bit. But I don't see how I don't add the Ravens, add the first half under, add the full game under. I don't think you can go. This is one of those games where it feels like the CFL because of the craziness of the second half and the last 3 minutes of the game, where I think you need to have the first half under as well as the full game.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the first half under. I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm moving on it right now. I'm looking around.
I think it makes
trying to get a good number. I'm taking the first half under.
God, it's going to be a sweaty Sunday. First half under. So you got the Ravens at -102, do you say?
I got Ravens -102 money line, and I'm going to take an under 26 -110.
And the first half under 26 at -110. You know what I also think makes sense here is the no score in the first 5 minutes, because these drives in the first half are going to be long, and well thought out. Dennis Garcia makes so much money on those spots. No score in the first 5 minutes, especially with a total this high. It might be 4.5 minutes. Birdie on the Ravens money line as well. So, okay, I need to write all this. Then I need that no score. Okay. Score 5 minute. Okay. That is our Sunday nighter. Join us while I'm panicking, watching the game, drinking heavily. That's my Saturday night, Sunday night. Let's talk about the Monday nighter. This is our final game on the board. And Troy, this is a spot that I have bet the first half under and the full game under already. I'm on Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears first half under 21.5 at +100. I'm on the full game under 44.5 at -115. We're at Soldier Field. Beautiful, 64 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 5 miles per hour. Mr. Heat says, bear down. Let's talk about the line history here for this one. I bet the 44.5 today. I imagine it's right there. I got the 44.5 at minus 115. That's exactly where it is right now at minus 115. When I bet it, it wasn't at minus 115 here. It was at minus 117. So it's taken a cent. It's gone from plus 104 to plus 103 on the over. And it's exactly now where I bet it at 365. Let's go to the spread here for our final spot on the week 1 board. The Bears are plus 2 at minus 113. They opened up at minus 1. So we have dog to favorite on the Minnesota Vikings. Let's just see the extent of it. We'll go over to the money line here. They have gone from minus, oh wow. They've gone from plus 108 to minus 118. 26-cent move towards the Minnesota Vikings. And cash flow wise for our Monday nighter, we'll be live from Monday Night Football, man, as we always are. 71% of the ticket, 74% of the cash on the Chicago Bears, and they're a dog now. How do you not just bet the Vikings? 57% of the tickets are on the over, 70% of the cash is on the over. I told you guys I'm on the first half under and the full game under. Let's talk about J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings. Wes Phillips in his 3rd season as the coordinator. KOC, running the show, 4th season. He's got talent everywhere now. He's got no Jordan Addison for the first 3 games from the DUI. Justin Jefferson, though, was a monster last year. Aaron Jones was spectacular. Now you get a full season out of TJ Hawkinson. You sign Will Fries for $88 million. That's huge. A bright guard of his ability. And you have Ryan Kelly. You draft Donovan Jackson out of Minnesota in the 1st round. Now, they expect Christian Darrisaw to be good to go, fully recovered from the ACL and the MCL tear in his left knee. Flores in year 3 with this blitz-heavy offense. Greenard, Van Ginkel, 12.5 and 11.5 sacks, respectively. And you had Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave. You have Byron Murphy at safety. Harrison Smith at safety, Brian Murphy at cornerback. It's just a very, very good defense. And Flores seems to press the right buttons. And the Vikings just seem to be more than the sum of their parts. Going up against the Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson, Declan Doyle, Dennis Allen, all in their first season, their respective spots. Johnson's head coach, Declan Doyle is offensive coordinator, Dennis Allen's defensive coordinator. Williams started all 17 games. I liked what I saw from him. I thought he played pretty well. And if Jaden Daniels wasn't so spectacular, I think there'd be a lot of nice things said about him. He only threw 6 interceptions, threw 20 touchdowns, threw for 3,451 yards, and was there to start every single game. Ran 81 times for 489 yards, and he was running for his life. So they trade for Joe Thuney, and they trade for Jonah Jackson, and that's important. 68 sacks. I mean, he was getting killed. They also bring in Drew Dahlman. We saw what happened to the Falcons when Dahlman got hurt. You have DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. We heard Troy talk about Colston Loveland, his expectations of the Michigan tight end. They also have Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden III. The running game is weak. I can't get past it. They were 26th in rushing last year. I don't see how they could be better this year. I don't trust DeAndre Swift to run into the teeth of the defense. And you could say, well, Ben Johnson knows what to do with him. And that's the only thing you could say to shut me up. Now, Montez Sweat, 5.5 sacks in his first season with the Bears wasn't enough. Secondary looks really good. And Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson. Take it away for us here, Troy. I doubled up on unders. The market is screaming Vikings. Should we be listening?
Yeah, I think it's time to make the move. I mean, historically, so I just talked about a home, with the Bills, a home dog flipping to a favorite. Well, we have a home favorite flipping to a dog, and it's a little bit different of a situation because the road team, it's basically a 50-50 split. But when you start looking at in division, we're talking about 72%, a 12-4 type of sample. These games have gone 11-1 to the under in this flipping in division, winning by 4. That's insanity. I think the market sets us up for not only the under, but for the Vikings. I haven't moved yet on the Vikings, and I don't know why. I'm going to actually be grabbing that right now. Right now, I'm worrying about making my bet. I should be worrying about breaking this game down. I mean, there's a lot to like. We talked about it on Sunday. There's a lot to like about what this Bears team did in the offseason, and I'm hard-pressed, and you talked about it too on Sunday, that this all molds together in week 1 of the season. And just this season in general. The Flores scheme is probably the worst draw for Caleb Williams in this Bears offense in this first game under Brandon Johnson. And I expect Flores to blitz. I expect the Flores blitz to cause plenty of confusion and chaos for Caleb Williams as he struggles to deal with the new offensive scheme. And I feel similarly with the Bears defense a little bit, trying to adapt to a new scheme. But, I think that is more promising than my expectations for Caleb Williams early in the season against one of the most difficult defensive schemes to deal with how much they blitz. At the same time, I expect there to be a learning curve for McCarthy and company. Getting acclimated early in the season just doesn't seem like it's going to all the cogs in the wheel are going to start rolling at the same time early in the season. We have market-wide data set that screams to the under. We have a primetime game which screams to the under, and a matchup that looks like it's going to play to the under. And I think I'm going to add the Vikings as well. So actually, let's do both. I'm going to add the first half under to double up on the under because I like the under more than I like the Vikings. And then I'm going to add the Vikings ATS as well. Let's see what I can get here.
Yeah, I'll probably just bag the money line at this point.
What kind
I'm
of price
curious what you get on the first half under. I got 21.5 at plus 100, but that was at 365 where you can easily beat those lines. Are you beating it?
21.5 plus 100. You can get a 22.5, but I'd rather have the 21.5 plus 100.
That's available for you?
Yep.
21.5 at plus 100 for Troy and full game, or just sticking with the first half?
No, I bet the full game. I bet the full
right.
game under as well.
What'd you get that?
I bet that one earlier today under 44.5. Did
you have to pay extra vig?
Oh shit! What did
I had to pay minus 115.
I think I did as well. I did. I paid it at minus 115.
And what are you getting the Vikings money line at?
I'm still trying to get my bet in on the first half, but actually, let's see what I can get the money line at. I can get the money line at minus 120.
Yeah, I'm going to join you. It's going to be a fun Monday nighter, man. Dougie Wise on the Bears plus 2 here. Dougie Wise saying Caleb is already the best quarterback in Bears history. Big Zo says it's a 3-point game, 2017 final. And Mr. Eat says Caleb was decent versus the Blitz. This Blitz this year is going to be scarier than last year. You bring in Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, and you already got Granard and Van Ginkel. I mean, good God. Good God. It's going to be so much fun to watch these X's and O's. And Troy and I, we have a lot of the same action, which generally bodes well for us. I hope it does here in week 1 of the NFL season. Let's do a review of all action. That was our Monday nighter. Join us live here on Pub Sports Radio.
Well, there's a lot of it, man.
Let's review all action. Troy, why don't you hit leadoff and review your action for week 1?
Man, I'm all out of order here because I made so many bets and I made them at different times of the day. So I'm going to be all over the board. But let's start with what we just talked about. I got the Vikings money line minus 120. I know for the show's purpose, it's a full unit. Right now, I got a half unit on that. I got a half unit on the Bears Vikings first half under 21.5. I got a full unit on the full game under 44.5. So I got
for everybody watching, we're going to count these all just for record keeping purposes as full units. He's just letting you know exactly how much he's putting on it.
And I'm probably going to actually increase these bets. I just didn't want to, I'm shooting off the cuff right now, trying to get all my action and chicken with my head cut off. So then we go back. I'm going to roll to the top. So you're going to hear these kind of in that order, which I bet them. Browns plus 6, minus 120, full unit. Jets versus Steelers under 38.5, full unit, minus 107. Ravens money line, minus 102 for a full unit. All the rest are full units. Bills versus Ravens, first half under 26. Minus 110. Giants plus 6.5, minus 118. Giants plus 6, minus 110. Seahawks, 49ers, under 43. Chargers plus 3. Falcons versus Bucks, under 47. Colts money line. Cardinals double result. The Cardinals Jets teasers. You get Cardinals minus 0.5 and Jets plus 8.5. And that's all my actions. So that's a total of 15 bets coming into week 1, including my my 4 futures that I have.
And we went over the futures off the hop. I have 13 of them, which is not what I wanted, but I'm very interested in the Cowboys and the under for Thursday night, and we're less than 48 hours away. Decisions have to be made around that. I'm on the Chargers plus 3.5 at minus 122 Friday night. I'm very interested in adding. I'm going to work on your under in Tampa, Atlanta. I'm interested in adding it. I am on Cincinnati, Cleveland under 47.5 at minus 106. And I may double up and take the first half too. I don't think I will though, because the bet does scare me and Burrow scares me. I'm going to get in on the Browns. I'm not betting the Browns tonight. There are a series of bets that I am going to make tonight, but I'm going to hold off on that Browns. I'm very curious to see where that line goes. And I feel like as a gambler, I'm in a can't lose situation because if it does go to 5 or even 4.5, I'll just have that much more confidence on it. I'm on the Colts minus 103. I am on the Vegas Patriots over 43. I'm on the Arizona double result. And I wish I could be on the under in that one, but I'm going to trust the market. I'm on the doubled up on first half under 19, full game under 39 in Pittsburgh Jets. And I kind of want to get on to the Jets, but I'm certainly not going to make that bet tonight. I want to sit with that. I'm on the Giants plus 6 and the under 46 in Giants Commanders. I might double down on that total. The doubling down on these totals has just been working for me. It's been working for me in the CFL. Whether that'll translate to the NFL, we'll have to see. But for all of you guys, how many unders have you been on where the first half, would have cashed easily if you were on it, and you'll lose with some late nonsense, the last 45 seconds, last minute and a half. And at least if you have doubled down on it, you just lose a little bit of vig. And when you're right, you're really right. And when you're wrong, you're generally there's very few times that I lose both of those bets. So I'll figure that out. I'm not going to get to the Panthers. I'm going to trust the market in that one, but I'm going to be cheering for them. And Broncos, Titans, I stayed off. The stats about the Titans are insane, absolutely insane. 52-12 against the spread for teams on the road in week 1 that are between plus 4.5 and plus 9, with a total between 40 and 41.5. Now I know this total is now at 42.5, but it did open in that range. Then I'm going to join Troy on the under in San Francisco, Seattle. God, am I going to double up on all? I got to figure that shit out. Then Packers Lions, a rare game that I'm not on. Then the Rams and under I'm going to add. I'll probably add those tonight. Of course, all my futures, Super Bowl, NFC West, and over win total is on the Rams. And having to deal with Stafford's back is not going to be fun. Then I am on I've got Ravens, Super Bowl, Ravens over 11 wins, but I'm going to add the Ravens and add the unders. Troy added the Ravens in the first half under. I think I'm going to add both, first half and full game. But I do find the first half much more appealing. I'm also in my SGP for the Sunday Nighter. I'll have no score. First 5 minutes will be part of that SGP. As long as they're giving me bonuses. I'm not going to just bet these SGPs unless I get bonuses. If they don't give me a bonus, I'm not going to bet. Minnesota, Chicago, first half under 21.5. Minnesota, Chicago, full game under 44.5. Troy added both those. Now I'm going to add the Vikings with them. And that is our show for today. Thank you guys so much for rocking with us. Thank you to our producer, Jose Bouquet, working tirelessly behind the scenes. Thank you for all that you do for us, Jose. And thank you to you guys in the chat. We had Mr. Sean Higgs give a $50 dono. We had the Nuke Worker gifting 5 Pub Sports Radio memberships. And he wasn't alone. I've got him in my notes, everybody who wrote or who sent in, who gifted Pub Sports Radio memberships. And I'm just frazzled right now and stressed out and thinking about all the investment that's going to be taking place. So if I've forgotten, I apologize, because you guys keep us afloat. And we thank you so much for all of your support. Old E, you're always putting your hard-earned money back into our channel. It means a ton to us. Chill Will. Thank you, Chill Will. It was Chill Will. Yes. Of course, Chill Will gifted 5 Pub Sports Radio memberships. Nice having Mark Lewis, Uncle Mark, rocking with us. Yeah, Chill Will and Lil Domo get in touch with me. We love new voices, new cappers, so rock with me. D-Trip. Okay, don't worry, D-Trip. I messaged Swig. I messaged Swig here. I messaged him today because I saw that because I set up the group chat with him and he had replied. So I'm on that, D-Trip, and I promise you that. Ivan Tokarev, thank you. Big Zoe, Gerald Jones, Harold Williams, Dougie Wise, Dizzy Rothstein. Thank you guys so much. D-Trip. Thank you guys. Dale Fick, Mr. Heat, Coin. You guys mean so much to us. Jared TG says Vikings was the easiest bet of the week. Ziggy Balls, nice having Ziggy Balls back in business. Rants, Birdie, Nuke Worker, Slatsy, The Juice, Harold Williams, Spenny Penny Bombs, Leo Leon, aka Big Daddy Boom. Thank you guys so much. I wish I could shout you all out because you all deserve it. Chris Warren, thank you guys so much for all the support that you give the channel. Luke Burrow, thank you guys. We have nothing without you. We are nothing without you. Troy, I'm so excited. I know that it's not just the work, it's the experience, because the longer you're in this game and the longer you're attacking the markets and attacking the books, the highs and lows. As I used to talk about how your armor gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Unfortunately, it affects other parts in life where nothing can get through the armor because if it's not a $5,000 swing, you don't care. We can work on that. We can work on that shit on our own. We can work on that shit. We can become human again at some point. But right now, we're just grimy cappers, and it feels so good to be one. There's nothing I'd rather do than cap this season with you. I'm so thankful to be sitting beside you, my friend, and working with you each and every day, learning from you and getting better alongside these great cappers in the chat. So thank you for all that you do for us, Troy. Can you please bless our action and lead us into the future, my friend?
I'm going to go in the dark room in a little bit. I'm sweating my ass off right now. And I'm going to just start getting ready for week 1 because I'm so freaking excited to be capping football again. It's just an amazing feeling. This is the best channel, the best chat in the game. There's a reason I stepped up and I started talking in chat. For years, I just kind of lived in the background, in the shadows, lurking, listening, and learning. Wow, that's the 3 L's: lurking, listening, and learning. That's what that's nice, that's a good way to be. Yeah. That's a good way to be. I think it's going to be an incredible season. Jimmy, I think we're growing stronger as a team. I am not hesitating to pull the trigger if we're have the same handicap on some plays that I moved on today. I proved that to be true. I'm just so excited to work with you. I'm so excited to work with the chat. This is the best damn chat in the game. I truly believe that, and I wouldn't be here if I didn't. So I think I'm just going to leave it like I should, like I have for 2 seasons in a row. It's time for us to go out there and lâcher those bookmakers.